Hello and welcome to the Creator Series, powered by EA Sports, where the final fateful 4 rounds begin. After a sensational spa siesta, we go from the journey through the Ardon Forest to some Hungaroring havoc. Yes, it's the Hungarian Grand Prix. I'm Carl Paranik, leading the Creator Series crusade, as it were. But I need some help from my friends in Commentary Corner. Luckily, a couple of them turned up today. So ladies and gentlemen, alongside me, for all of the goings-on in Hungary, it is the wonderful Tom Wilkinson and the joyful and jubilant Jessica Ball. How are we doing? Firstly, Tom, how is it going for you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm looking forward to this one. Should be an interesting one. Full quality returns for the first time since the season opener back in Barcelona. Just a bit of a mix-up. Can catch a few of the big names out as well if they get it slightly wrong. So should be maybe opportunity for some big names to be out of position.
Couldn't agree more to you. And Jessica, we have this full qualifying at the Hungaroring. I mean, I think saying it's paramount to get qualifying right today is a bit of an understatement. You have got to be on it like a car bonnet from the word go, particularly with a track like this, where overtaking opportunities are so limited.
I absolutely love that you said that car bonnet phrase because I use it a lot of time when I'm on commentary. I mean, Hungary is like Monaco without the barriers, right? It's one of those tracks where qualifying is essential. You can hardly overtake. There's lots of twisty corners, lots of narrow bits. There's a track that requires high downforce as well. So if you have a rubbish qualifying, then the race around Hungary is going to be really, really difficult for you to get past.
For sure, it absolutely will be. Well, the drivers are particularly eager in this case to quench their qualifying thirst, but how do they relieve their near insatiable appetite for pole position prowess? Luckily, Sim Racing Setups knows a thing or two about that. Let's head on over for a hot lap of the Hungaroring.
Round 9 of the Creator Series Season X brings us to Hungaroring. Let's jump on board the lap using a setup brought to you by Sim Racing Setups. DRS flaps wide open, approaching turn 1, brake after the 100-meter board, early apex here to set up the exit. Traction is really poor, especially with the second DRS zone. Into turn 2, mount the outside curve to open up this corner more, tight on the entry and wide on the exit. We've seen cars go side by side in real life here, so keep an eye out on Saturday for cheeky switchbacks. Mounting the inside curve into turn 4, but don't get too greedy. Stay tight to the inside for this long winding right-hander and use all of the track on the exit to run wide and carry more speed. Slightly mount the curve into the chicane on entry and exit. Mentally prepare yourself for the roller coaster section that's coming up. Stay to the left here in order to open up the right-hander. Use all of the track available on exit. Stay tight to the left in order to open up this next corner to the right and carry all the extra minimum speed down this tiny little straight. Mount the inside curve for rotation and coming up to the second to last corner on this track. Using a double apex to make traction easier on exit, use the black box as a reference. Stay tight to the inside, have faith in the rear tires, go all the way up to the green astroturf on the outside, and that is a lap around the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. A Hungarian hot lap. A big thank you to Formula Kai for taking us through all the proceedings there. And also a huge congratulations to him because he recently crossed 10,000 subscribers. Well done to him. But to the Drivers' Championship standings, where Alex Gillen's lead at the top is being slowly compressed and condensed, Jessica. But it's not by much.
Nope, it's not. We've seen plenty of drivers close up last week. Don't forget we had realist performance last week as well. So you saw drivers like Linoba come up through the field, and then some people that were maybe not in the cars that they want to be, they were slowly losing points and losing grounds. But now we're back to normal territory with the normal cars. It means that people like Alex can close up the gap a bit because he did not have a good race last week in the feature race. The sprint race was absolutely fantastic for him. He scored some really good points, but for the feature is nothing to be desired. But I know he is very hungry for a good result.
Eager to bounce back is our championship leader. You gotta love a good pun in the Creator Series. But to be fair, it wasn't just that kick Sauber side of the garage. Kareem also struggling on that particular occasion. Wasn't all bad news though. Tiamat Marder got his 50th podium of the Creator Series whole campaign last time out, so well done to him. GB now into second place, of course, and a bunch of swapperoos here and there. However, we do need to address something, of course, that you will all have heard about. Tom and Punju are no longer racing full-time in the Creator Series. They bowed out after the Belgian Grand Prix. But, Jessica, we've got 2 new entrants into the fray. We've got Matt212 in the Alpine, and we've got Tuki in the Williams. So, some awesome new additions for us to look forward to.
Yes, but they're not new additions to the season, of course. Both of them race in the Creator Series already. Of course, Matt212's first race last week in Belgium. And to be honest, he had to throw himself in realistic car performance. So for Matt, I think it's going to be a lot better for him to get used to a normal environment with an equal performance car. We can't wait.
I couldn't agree more with you. Well, the sounds in my ear are alarm bells because qualifying, ladies and gentlemen, is literally just over the horizon. So strap yourselves in, get ready for a roller coaster ride because this could quite literally decide things from the word go. Let's hand over to our commentary team for full qualifying. It's Tom Wilkinson and Jessica Bull.
Thank you, Carl, enchanté, everybody on this fine Saturday evening. A week ago, it was Lolanoba who lit up Spa with that masterclass in the mayhem of realistic performance. But tonight, as we hear the beeps in our ears tick down, we shift east through the gears of Europe to Budapest for qualifying at the Hungaroring. Tight, twisty, technical, a circuit where precision is everything. And as we've said so many times already, track position often absolutely king. If you are new to the Creator Series, first of all, poor, where have you been so far this season? But tonight, we are running full qualifying. Q1, Q2, Q3 for the second time this season, ran in that season opener in Barcelona. And it was Razin Chai who was top dog 9 weeks ago. Will it be rinse and repeat from our Season 5 champion in this format? We will have to wait and see. And the strategy will also kick off right from the word go. Extra point up for grabs for intermediate pole. That is awarded to the fastest time set on the green stripe. Intermediate tyres within the first 6 minutes. You will see that it is dry, but we don't care about that. 1 jot. We're going for that extra World Championship point. And Jess Ball, with this being full qualifying for the leading contenders, we spoke a little bit about it before, they're going to want to treat the soft compound tyres like gold dust, attempting to reach Q3 using just 1 set of the red stripe rubber, which in the past has resulted in some big names finding themselves considerably out of position.
Exactly. For most drivers, they're going to be choosing the softer option, 4 set of the soft compounded tyres. But if we go to the race, they may go for balance or even harder for 100% race around Hungary because they're not going to have enough tyres left. And we know that the softs around the race can be an absolute nightmare. So they're going to have to go on some banker laps on the softs potentially, not go on fresh air softs for every lap. And they can't afford to get through all their softs at the end of Q1 because otherwise, like you were saying, it's going to be an absolute nightmare trying to get into Q2 or Q3. So some people are on Inters now to get a feel for the track and also to get that extra point for pole position. But I think for the start of it, it's just getting a dial down of the track because for some people, it's their first time racing around this track on this game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, is it, once we get to the race with the dirty air obviously coming in the F1 games for the first time in about 10 years as we see Lolanoba last week in the colours of Scarlet as he was driving for his Ferrari team. Now back racing for Albion, looking to recapture the form that he had 1 week ago, but also we saw quite a lot of at the end of F1 24 where he was one of, if not sometimes the fastest driver in the Creator Series. And you can already see from the timing tower a lot of drivers have those green striped intermediate tyres selected. It gives them effectively a get out of jail free card to avoid using too many sets of the soft compound tyres. And last week it was thanks to the performance of the Ferrari that Lolly picked up that first win of F1 25, and it was actually the first time he finished on the podium this season as well. Going to be interesting to see how the drivers cope with the temperatures on this intermediate lap as well. Those tyre temperatures could start to skyrocket, especially in the middle sector, and that could just make the grip just that little bit challenging to deal with.
Yeah, we know the rears around Hungary can be an absolute nightmare, and with it being a high downforce track anyway, you can't afford to be too aggressive. Of course, in F1 24, you can do a little bit of flicking and be more aggressive, but this game on F1 25 rewards precision, rewards smoother driving, and with a track like Hungary, if you do go too aggressive, you're going to be too aggressive on tyre wear during the race, and you're going to lose your lap. And the same for quali as well. If you're too aggressive on your quali lap, you're not going to have the best optimum tyres to really set a really competitive lap during qualifying. But this is a section of the third of the track which a lot of people find difficult. You've got to get the curves right. I think on this game, getting the apexes quite early and nailed is a lot better than doing it a bit late. You provide a bit more grip around it. But he seems to be taking the curbs very nicely, even on those intermediate tyres. I like this game where you can take the curbs a little bit more compared to previous games, like in F124.
Just try and push the limits ever so slightly more. As we've seen from Lolly, it's looked like a solid, if unspectacular, attempt on the Inters thus far, coming up to 2.5 minutes before the clock will tick down to 12 and those Inter lap times will be finished. And we will hand out the first championship point of the weekend. And it is a 121.1 for last week's race winner. I imagine that is going to be eclipsed by a few drivers. One of them is not going to be Dak Gavins, who has fallen foul of the track limits. We're going to have to be careful of them because, in particular, you know it, turn number 4, we've seen some incredible overtakes there in real life F1 battles back in 2021, for example, between Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso. But if you just take too much curb on the inside, it can bounce and spit you over those white lines on the right-hand side and just ruin it for you. Kareem already saying not a very good sector 1, so on the back foot is our reigning champion.
Yeah, and I mean, sector 1 can be an absolute nightmare for drivers anyway, because of the tight and different lines that you can take as well. So, I mean, if you don't get your sector 1 right, you're going to struggle for the rest of the lap, which means you're probably going to get a little bit more dirty air. But as Tuki's had a bit of a knock on already his first full-time race in the Creator Series, has not got on well. Like we were saying earlier, he's replacing Punju for the rest of the season. Has done quite well in some races, but him spinning it into a wall is not going to do his tyres any good, and it's not going to give him any confidence for his first outing, as Razin Chai is setting the fastest into lap for now, Tom.
10th for second in hand over Kareem 70 with just over a minute to go, and that's the disadvantage with going for your soft tyre run at the start of the session. You just put yourself out of kilter and out of touch with the other drivers that are going for the Inters. And you saw there from Tuki, he caught the Red Bull of Kareem in the final sector and just found himself a little bit balked coming through the penultimate corner and dropping it on the exit for good measure. Matt 2 on 2, the slowest of the 4 laps on the green stripe tyres we have so far. We are now under 60 seconds as the second Red Bull of Guat's up into P3, half a second down on Razin's time. Here is the championship leader and season 2 champion, but he is 7/10 down, Alex Gillen. That is not a particularly competitive time for him.
That is not a competitive time at all. We've seen quite a few drivers invalidate, and that's going to be a key thing, I think, during the race as well. I was having a bit of a practice last night for my own league race, and many a time people get track limit penalties in the curbs, especially in sector 2. So, and in the final few corners as well. So I think we can see the same thing in qualifying, and especially with certain drivers only having a few chances to get their laps in. If they mess up, even on their soft run, it's going to give them only one shot to get their lap in just a little later on. But GB comes across the line to set it into pole lap, and it's a 120.8. Not enough to get Razin Chai's faster into pole time at the moment, but I believe it is Razin Chai that gets the intermediates pole lap.
He definitely will. The clock ticks down. Formula Kai was one of the drivers that could have been in the ballpark to try and take it off him, but starting his lap with 20 seconds to go, I don't even think Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, you can list off all the legends of our sport, I don't think they would have got round this Hungarian Grand Prix circuit in that limited amount of time. So Kai, even if he does go intermediate pole, which if he does, that's going to annoy me personally, because if he did it a little bit early, we would have had a little bit more action right at the front. But it is Razin Chai, currently third in the championship, and picks up that one extra point just to move him ever closer to GB in second and Alex Gillen, who still leads way, as he has done since round number 1 of Chappers, lowering the benchmark on the red striped rubber. 1:16.4 puts 3/10 for second between himself and Ricky 03.
Yeah, pretty close times on those intermediate laps, which strongly suggests that I think we're going to have a close qualifying later on. And just because it's so twisty, it doesn't mean the gap's going to be quite big. It's going to be closer than ever, I think. I know in full qualifying in real life, we saw the gap separated by a few tenths. We could see a few hum-ups as well. So it's very imperative that they get their laps right. But we are starting to see Tom, Scotty, Tuki and Adam Sanderson get some laps in. Good to see Adam Sanderson back in the Creator Series for this week, and his teammate this tonight is Grid Jokes as well. But Adam Sanderson making his way towards the final corner. He's got to be one of the drivers to set the benchmark for those soft runners now. But if you're setting your lap early, you're not going to know what other people are doing, which may mean you don't know what you need to push for your final lap as well. And Meraki was saying, which I definitely agree, tyres die really quick around here, and I could definitely agree with that. I did some stints around here. The softs only last a few laps, and the mediums don't last that long at all, unless you can be very smooth with your tyre wear.
Yeah, those soft tyres, in particular in the middle sector where you're really putting excessive loads on the rear tyres in the traction zones and the front tyres as well, they can severely start to melt. Adam Sanderson Still buoyed, I think, by that result from a few weeks ago. His best result in the F1 Creator Series in Miami. Some good teamwork between himself and Team Marduk. Managed to pay off in a P4, race winner in F2, multiple podium finisher in F2 as well, but yet to quite make the top 3 in the F1 cars. He just gets a little bit unstable there through turn number 11. But it's been a decent couple of sectors so far for Adam Sanderson, flying the flag for Mercedes, along with grid jokes in Tim Marduk's absence. With just a couple of corners to go, he'll be hoping to try and get somewhere near the time set by Chappers and Ricky 03. Tukey slots into third place as Williams 2-3, 16-7 and 16-8 respectively. Adam Sanderson pulling gears out of the final corner, cuts the beam and he is fastest, and by some tune, a third of a second between himself and the kick tower behind. 16.1. Scotty Designs, by the way, 16.5, just 4/10 of a second further back and jumping ahead of both of the Williams.
I know we're going to see some faster times. I think I'm almost certain we're going to go into the 1:15s or even 1:14s for some drivers as well. So the times you're seeing at the moment, they're not going to be the fastest times today. So if the drivers want to make it out of Q1 and into Q2, they've got to get a lot quicker than that. Scott Taylor, of course, in the kit, wants to do a lot better this week as he makes his way towards the final sector. Does look very nice through there compared to his other compatriots. And let's see if he takes the title line through there as well. It's imperative that he take an early apex there, which he does take the tightest line possible. Hopefully he doesn't get compromised by the drivers around him as Scott goes up to the line. And what's it going to be for him? Looks pretty tiny at 1:16.2, just 1/10 shy of Adam Sanderson. And speaking of Adam Sanderson, he says he'll take it for now, which strongly suggests that he pretty likes that lap. I would do. So yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who can get out of Q1. I think to be comfortable, you're going to have to be in the 1 minute 15s, I would say. Adam Sanderson will be okay, but not delighted, as I think we could see from that radio message there. Still on provisional pole if this was our 18-minute short qualifying session, but it's not 16.1. If he can try and get in the 15s, I think that'll make him feel a whole lot better. Ricky 03, fifth fastest at the moment, was actually quickest in the middle sector, but must have made a mistake somewhere in the final sector of the lap because he's about half a second down on Adam Sanderson and Scott Taylor. Alex Gillen tracking nicely through the first sector. As Infratic lowers the benchmark by a further 10th. Back in scarlet is Fabio, 16-0. Already got a couple of podiums to his name so far this season in the season opener in Barcelona, and in the same race that Adam Sanderson had his best result. Fabio equalled his best with a third also in Miami. Gwatz has also looked very strong at different phases of the season so far. Datka Vince on a lap, fastest for him in the middle sector and by 4/10 of a second as well.
Yeah, Vince is looking very tidy around here. He's always looked good around Hungary, so I would expect both Aston Martins to be good, like we saw in real life with Alonso and Stroll. Formula Kai is setting the timing screens alight. The first driver into the 1:15s, and by a comfortable margin at 1:15.2. Surely that should see him safe into Q2, but you never know with these things. Alex Gillen, our championship leader, 1:15.7. Still not quite enough to match Formula Kai's time right now. What could Alex Gillen's teammate for tonight, Lucas, do? He hasn't been in the Creator Series for a while. Good to have him back, though. Takes a very good run to the line at 1:16.2 there. Formula Kai's lap in the Haas. Absolutely sensational. But grid jokes are reserved. P2, I think he'll take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, great lap from the Mercedes driver, putting himself between some very established names in the F1 Creator Series, returning for the first time in a little while. Grid jokes taking the place of Tim Marduk. Was formerly teammates of Tim Marduk last season, stepping in to Mercedes a couple of times. But Formula Kai's first sector, he's absolutely blitzed it, by the way. 3/10 clear of anybody else in that section. He was 4/10 up on Alex Gillen through the first sector alone. That is where all the time is. There's decent lap from Matt 2-1-2. Had a bit of a struggle last week in Spa, but getting himself inside the 1 minute 16 barrier. 1:15.994 as Kareem 7T has clearly made a bit of a mess of it somewhere because he's doing some lawn mowing on the inside of turn number 12. He's going to have to bail out of that one, leaving himself with a lot of work to do in the closing stages of Q1.
Yeah, there's certain drivers near the bottom that haven't set a valid soft lap. So, yeah, it's going to be one-shot qualifying for them. But we know how GB likes to get under the pressure. And he seems to me, the final sector, seems to be the strongest for him. And P2, he slots in at Aston Martin. Both Aston Martins, like in real life, doing fantastically well. But the ones to watch out for, Lolinoba, who's in the pits, Meraki, Kareem, Razin Char, your big hitters, and maybe Tukey as well. If you're not in the 150s, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, and that's where some people tend to mess up as well. But we know how Meraki could do. I think Meraki is going to set a very stellar lap time, and it is a good lap time. 1:15.5. That pushes Ricky into the drop zone.
Yeah, decent lap there from the Season 4 champion. Replay coming up. This is potentially what happened to Alex Guinan. He's got GB lagging all over the place in front of him. Alien invasion as GB just about gets out of the way, but a little bit of a distraction there and some dirty air in the face of Alex Guinan going through turns 1 and turns 2. Maybe explains why he's a little bit off the pace, but won't be too concerned sitting on that 1:15.7, 6th place at the moment, and he's got a second in hand over Ricky 03, who currently lies in P16. Razin Chai, Season 5 champion, yet to get a time on the board so far. Been very adept in qualifying over the years, one of the fastest over a single lap, hasn't always been able to piece it together to pick up the maximum points on race day, but a very, very solid competitor in the Creator Series. As Formula Kai with the Ego retirement, I think he can feel pretty safe up at the top of the timing board, 1:15.2. I don't see 15 other drivers getting ahead of him.
No, I think there's certain people that would dream of beating Kai's time, to be honest, so it is good for him to go into the pits now, I think, because he's going to save some tyres and he'll have one fresh tyre for Q2, whereas other drivers will not. Or maybe he'll save some tyres for Q3. Maybe he's confident to make it to Q3. I think he'll make it to Q3, so he'll probably just do one run in Q2 and all be done with it, unless he bottles it, of course. But Razin Chai, he needs to pick up the pace a little bit. He's currently sitting in 18th at the moment, hasn't set a top run yet. He's timed it a little bit early to do his final run in Q1, but he thinks that he can make it through into Q2 anyway with the laps he set. So he thought, why not take the gamble? Does the Alpine driver. He goes up to the line, of course, for multiple race winners and pole positions, and it looks like he's setting the timing screen to light again. Beats Kai's time. That's safely him through into Q2.
100%. 15.1 was 2 tenths down on Kai through the first sector, pulled it all back in sector 2, and then was a further 10th quicker in sector 3, so putting just under a 10th between himself and Formula Kai. They've locked horns on a number of occasions so far this season. Bahrain notably had a real tussle in the closing stages, battling over second place behind Cream 17 when he picked up his second win of the season. Tukey playing with fire there. The track limits through turns 4 and 5, just about keeping it within the white lines. He's going to need this lap because it might be the final one he gets in this qualifying session. A little bit unstable through the first part of the 6-7 chicane. You can see the grass on the tyres there as well. Alex Guinan retiring in the pits, happy with his 1:15.7. Tukey a little bit all over the place in the middle sector, putting himself under some unnecessary pressure at this stage.
Yeah, he hasn't got that much ERS either, so that means he's probably going to derate towards the end of the lap as well, and you do not want to do that. So he's probably used quite a bit of overtake on the straight, so he's got to find quite a bit of time. He's got to find, I think, a second in order to be comfortably through, as he doesn't take that much tighter line into the final corner, so this may not be good for him. He goes up to the line. He goes 14th. He may not be safe. He's safe for now, but he may not be for longer, as we've still got the likes of Hayden Gullit, Chappers, we've got Kareem, Lonnie Noba and Ricky that we know are fast, still yet to set some lap times. As Vince has also said, he thinks he'll be safe. He's retired from the session as well, as Chappers is about to improve on his lap.
Up by nearly 4 tenths per second through the first couple of sections, and this could push Tukey down to the bubble into P15. The Kick Sauber teammate currently P12. Chappers over the line, takes P12 off the hands of Scott Taylor. Will that be enough? 1:16.1. We were thinking maybe you've got to be in the high 15s to guarantee your safety in this session. The cut-off point at this stage is 1:16.4. And for Tukey, I do fear for him a little bit with Kareem 17 yet to get a time on the board. The reigning champion on a lap as it stands, just coming through the middle sector, we believe. Here he is. We pick up the reigning champion, up by a second through the first sector, up by 3.4 seconds in the first 2 sectors. So looking nice at the moment for the reigning champion, just to make his way into the second part of qualifying. And that's all he needs to do with just over a minute to go. Cars getting out of the way in the middle sector. And will Kareem be on the button? Just one corner left to negotiate, looking to try and do it a little bit better than Max Verstappen, who found himself down the order in the real qualifying session. Reigning champion cuts the beam. It's P8 for Kareem 17, 1:15.7. That will see him safely through, you would imagine.
And sometimes you don't want to show your true hand in qualifying early on if you know you're not going to make it through. So Kareem, P8, safely through. And if you show this true hand early on anyway, then that will probably mean that a lot of people would want to try and improve from their lap and see how could I beat Kareem, as Lucas goes up to the line 12th fastest. He's safe for now. Lonnie Noba is on a lap. Tukey, I think, trying to go for another run to see if he can improve on his run, but Lonnie Noba is improved by quite a bit. But is that going to be enough? He only set 1 lap time on the inters, no other times on the soft tyres, and that's going to leave him all to do as he goes into the final corner. Last week's race winner, is he going to go from hero to zero, or is he going to go safely through into Q2? Answer on a postcard, he is through into Q2, Tom.
Solid lap from Lolly there up to the line. Scotty Designs with an invalidation, stays down in P19. That's probably his session done. Chappers has just been bumped into the relegation zone by his teammate Scott Taylor, who nips up into position number 7. Gwat's into P4. Grid Jokes P5. Good laps at the end for those two. Hayden Gullis has been, well, a victim of qualifying 1 multiple times in his Creator Series career. Riccio 3 trying to find some time as well. His teammate on a 1:16.4 was trying to go again, but you can see there on the grass making a mistake in the middle sector, and he's lost a bit of his front wing to boot as well. And Hayden Gullis has invalidated, so they're falling by the wayside. Adam Sanderson's on the bubble as well in P15. That Silver Arrow needs to get a bit of a shift on. Here he is coming out of the final corner. 4th place a few weeks ago. What can Adam Sanderson do? He's into the 15s, and he's into qualifying 2. Cutter Lucas now, the driver at risk in P15. Infratics headed to the pits. He's not safe in this session either, but I think he might just about get away with it. Riccio 3 is fighting. It's Papaya McLaren versus Williams. Will Williams come out on top? No, by 800ths of a second. Riccio 3 misses out. Scotty Designs is also going again, 12 milliseconds off his personal best, but I don't think he's going to find enough time in the final sector to get that Haas into the next part of qualifying.
Definitely not. And I was looking at the final sector for Riccio 3. I think he must have got caught by dirty air and traffic, and he could have gained a bit more time if he had clearer air. So I think that was the difference between him getting out of Q2 and him staying in it. So unfortunately, that is Riccio 3, Chappers, Tukey, Scotty Designs and Hayden Gullis that will not make it to the next part of qualifying. But topping Q1 is Razin Chai with a 1:15.198, closely followed by Formula Kai. But I wonder if it will stay there with the likes of Alice Gillen and Kareem that I know that can improve.
Hayden Gullis, no invalidated, not going to be happy about that. Was improving on his first flying lap, so there was a potential opportunity there for Hayden, who had a really good racing style last week up until had a little bit of contact with Gwatz in the second half, and that just put him out of contention for picking up some real decent points. But he'll be starting the Hungarian Grand Prix from last place in the race. Infrati doing a good job as well, just sailing the 1 lap on his soft tyres, making it through in 14th and not needing to go again, bailing on that final lap. But Carl, interesting qualifying session. No big names coming across us so far, but Razin Chai and Formula Kai looking very, very strong so far.
Well, there we go, guys. Q1 out of the way. In the end, track limits catching a lot of people out. And, well, some of them left it quite late in terms of qualifying, but the usual suspects right up at the forefront, Tom, aren't they?
100%. And there were some markers laid down, wasn't there? Razin and Kai looked really strong. We didn't see too much from the likes of Kareem 70 or Alex Gillen, but their drives that they're going to be comfortable with the pace they've got. They can just leave a little bit in hand. They don't need to go 101% just to get out of Q1.
No, absolutely not. And Jessica, who's your... I know you're in the Red Bull top, so no bias, please. But who's your money on when it comes to this qualifying session? You've seen some of the evidence of pace so far. Not many people showing their full hand of cards just yet. But who do you think has that extra bit, that extra crumb of confidence in their driving after that session?
I think you got to hand it to Razin Chai as well. Razin Chai's always looked good around this circuit, and I know with Razin, he wants to show that he can do it early on, and sometimes you want to show your pace early on with the likes of Razin, because if you tend to go a bit slower than normal, then you think, oh, can I do it for real later on as well? So I think Razin is showing that he's consistent around this track. Formula Kai was my biggest surprise as well. I wasn't expecting him to be up there. Of course, him reaching the big subscriber mark as well on YouTube. And that confidence is showing again, him going up into P2 in qualifying as well. So that's my biggest surprise, Carl. Kai up there in qualifying at the moment.
Well, the supreme snowball effect for the man in the American dream. However, it's not been a qualifying session to remember for this man, Mr. Hayden Gullis. Hayden, unlucky, mate. I'm sorry that we're talking to you so early in that session. I believe it came across that it was track limits in the end that caught you out. Just talk us through that session.
Yeah, interesting session. I thought it was a lot of fun. Good to have a full qualifying once again, and you know, with us knowing, I suppose, that there's a restart on the cards. Selecting softer tyres and having as many soft tyres as possible is good fun. However, I've not used them all. But yeah, just went over by like a couple of millimeters. It was unfortunate. I was up slightly. I don't think it would have been enough for Q2, but it would have been nice to maybe beat the likes of Scotty and I think it was Tukey, who was also down there with me. But hey, I'm not a qualifying driver, so we'll try and come back in the race.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen many sterling drives from you, of course. I think back to Japan, for instance, where you got that podium last season.
Yeah, that was a great result for me, actually. That was really good.
It was.
Yeah,
Are we going to see a bit of Hayden Gullis magic, do you think, in the race?
Let me just call up the my supplier for that race and see if they're available. We'll see. I've done a few races today on Hungary. It depends on what the wild card is because we won't find out till later. There's a lot of things going through everybody's minds, and it could be really interesting. I just hope they don't change it because I do like Hungary, so I do hope we still race on this track. And it will just be, the same from me as usual. Take it easy and work my way through the grid. I'm probably one of the highest climbers on the grid so far this season, and I will continue to keep on doing that and finishing just outside the top 10.
Crucially, your supplier didn't say no, so that's only a good sign. And I've been jumping between streams. Final thing from me, wildcard-wise, what would you potentially like to see crop up here at the Hungaroring?
I mean, if Lolly puts it on pole, I'd love it for teammate swap after quali. Would be quite funny, wouldn't it? There's a lot of options we've thrown around about, so it could be a potential of, I don't know, having F2 cars in the race. So people have been saying that they hope that we go to a different track. As I said, I hope we don't do that. Reverse grid completely, in which I'm starting on pole. Swap with teammates, then it depends on where Lolly ends up. So it could be very interesting. I don't know. What would I probably prefer? Well, I think it's just very simple. Just reverse grid where I'm starting would probably be the best race for me from here. So I'm going to go with that one.
Fair enough. Who knows? You might be in luck yet. Hayden, thank you so much for talking to us. Unlucky in qualifying, but best of luck for the race, mate.
Thank you. Enjoy the qualifying session.
Brilliant. Back over to Tom and Jess for Q2.
Well, 5 have gone. Another 5 have to be dismissed in Q2, and then we'll have the 10 to go through to the shootout. And Formula Kai, once again, that'll be on a U set of tyres, but tracking ever so nicely with a 1:15.6 as his banker at the start of qualifying. To Adam Sanderson, Cutter Lucas in the high 16s respectively. What can GB do? Second in the championship, and he's second in qualifying too at the moment. 1:15.9. These drivers will be using the set of soft tyres that they used in qualifying 1. The game plan will try and be get to Q3 on just the one set of the ResDrop soft compound tyres, then they can use them all to their heart's content in the final part of qualifying to try and get the best grid position possible.
Yes, I think that's what Kai has done, because I know I would expect him to go a little bit higher than that. But as Hayden was saying earlier, because we got a lobby restart coming out, they got 4 tyres to their disposal. Hopefully not many people would have used 2 softs already, but for some people that have used 2 softs, it's just about getting a banking in early with the different types of conditions we got now, because as you probably noticed, the clouds have started to thicken a little bit. It's not as sunny as it was at the start of qualifying, so of course they've got to warm their tyres a bit more. As Alex Gillen, I could tell that his lap was on a new set of the soft tyres, and he's gone fastest with a 1:15.3.
Yeah, found 0.4 of a second between Q1 and Q2. Alex Gillen for the first time today. Finds himself in position number 1. Dak Gavint's good lap from himself as well. 15.5, slotting ahead of Formula Kai. And Gwat's into P4 ahead of Grid Jokes. Those 2 have been inseparable so far in qualifying. And a second of our replacement drivers this season, Matt 212. You've seen him in iRacing so far this season on the Thursday nights. He's now full-time Alpine driver, partnering up with Razin Chai, hoping to deliver a Constructors' Championship in his first ever season. And Kareem 7T has jumped into P2, only 1/100th of a second down on his main championship rival Alex Gillen.
The sandbags are off for Kareem. He wanted to get a feel for it in Q1, but now he's on the cards to push for Q2, and that is exactly what he wanted to do. But honestly, it's great to see Matt 212 fighting in the Creator Series. He's done quite well, having a bit of fun in the iRacing scene, but now he's back in the F1 scene. A lot of people that watch his videos, mostly known for F1 anyway, as he slots himself into P8. If he wants to make for into Q3, though, he definitely needs to go into the 1:15. Last week's race winner goes into the pits. He was not happy with that lap once and for all, so he comes in. Emphatic, of course, he's got quite a few podiums this season, looking to add another one at the Hungaroring today. Can he get a lap in? 1:15.9 for Emphatic. Those are the lap times so far, but we've got Scott Taylor and Meraki on outlaps. We'll see what they could do in just a bit, but Kareem 7T, this is what we would like to see from him, I think. The reigning champion, definitely giving the likes of Alex Gillen, Kai, and that guy Vince a run for their money.
100%. I think looking at the lap from Fabio there into P8, I think there's a little bit more time to find from the Ferrari as well. Had really strong first and final sector, but just losing half a second in the middle sector to Alex Gillen. That's where all the time fell away for the two-time podium finisher so far this season. Scott Taylor on a lap as well. We can see him there. The earthquake coming already in the bottom right of our screen. If he runs over a curb like you just saw him do there, the camera will violently shake and maybe a bit of seasickness going on for us. But Scott on the outlap at the moment, I think he did have an attempt earlier on in the session, but just invalidating. So having to go again and potentially burn up a second set of the soft compound tyres.
I'm trying to see what Infactive put on the team radio there, but I couldn't really see that much. We'll get that radio back in just a moment. But with Scott, I mean, he wants to get through into Q3. That's his main goal at the moment. Anything else is just a bonus, really. He wants to score as many points as he can. He's probably relieved that he's back in an equal performance Sauber instead of a realistic performance car. So he feels like he could do a lot better this weekend at the Hungaroring. Is a track that suits him quite well as well. Let's see how he does the middle of sector 2. He takes quite a bit of curb coming up through there and does it really well. If you take it like that in F124, it will probably send you to absolute Narnia and it'll probably send you into a wall. But Scott seems to be doing it all right so far, but it looks like he's on a set of used tyres. He had a little bit of a slide coming out of turn 10.
Tracking pretty nicely though, only about 0.3 of a second down on Alex Gillen's personal best so far, that 1:15.3 that sees him sit atop the leaderboard halfway through Q2. Scott Taylor, he's got pedigree in the F1 Creator Series, let's not forget that, but inside the top 5 multiple times, best qualifying position of second in Brazil a couple of seasons ago as he cuts the beam. Scott Taylor finds himself nestled comfortably inside the top 10, 1:15.8 for the Kick Sauber. Meraki, season 4 champion, negotiating the final corner as well. Those soft compound tyres screaming for mercy as he plants his right foot to the floor. Meraki up to P3, 1:15.4. Those top 3 covered by what is that, 23 milliseconds, and GB, fastest in the middle sector, could be joining them very, very shortly.
Oh, I mean, if this is how Q2 is going to be, wait until Q3 later, which does mean the ones near the bottom, they need to step it up because one small mistake around here is going to cost them. And like I was saying earlier, if you have a rubbish qualifying, you're going to struggle in the races. GB, 1:15.2 for him. He's going to be happy with that. About a tenth separating himself and Alex Gillen now. Now Formula Kai now puts his pedal to the metal now. 1:14.864, the first driver into the 1:14s, and Razin Chai says, how about that? He's another driver to get into the 1:14s. The times are ramping up right now. The track is evolving quite quickly. Bring it on, Tom. We're going to get in for a really fast qualifying session, and Adam Sanderson is about to finish his lap as well.
Well, class of 2 right at the sharp end. Take a wrecking ball to your thoughts of what we predicted the times were going to be. Straight into the 1:14s with no trouble at all for Formula Kai and Razin Chai. Adam Sanderson a little bit unstable through the final corner, pulling up to the line now as he cuts the beam. He's not inside the top 10, finds 0.6 of a second, but it's still just a 16 flat. And that leaves him a couple of tenths shy of his teammate who currently holds that 10th position in the qualifying session. 5 minutes of Q2 to go. No time set for Lolinoba so far. Map 2-on-2, Adam Sanderson and Infratic make up the bottom 5 along with this man, Cutter Lucas, driving for the Papaya McLaren squadron, taking the place of Nick Flies, who isn't here this week. A couple of corners left to negotiate. He was 15th in qualifying 1, just about scraped through into the second part of the session. It gives him a free shot now to try and go balls to the wall and get inside the top 10. Can he manage it as he cuts the beam? It's a 16 flat, 11 milliseconds slower than Adam Sanderson. Still needs to find a little bit more time in the dying embers of this session.
That is not enough at the moment, but he does have one more chance to do so, and hoping that the conditions stay as they are in order to do so as well. Matt 2-1-2, another driver that's looking to improve. He's about a tenth up on his previous best, but again, he will need to get a 1:15.8 to even slot himself into Q3, so he's got to find 3 tenths. But it seems to me this is a sector where you make or break your lap time, so I think we're going to keep an eye on him on that, as this didn't look like a nice few corners for Matt 2-1-2. I think if I was him, go into the pits and go for one final run again.
I'd agree. He's up by a tenth and a half, but that won't be enough to see him sail inside the top 10 from P14. If he's got any soft tyres left, we have to preface this with Matt 2-1-2. If he has any soft tyres left, I would be getting down pit road, like you said, and getting the fresh set of boots on. And that is exactly, it's almost like he can hear us. That is exactly what Matt 2-1-2 is going to do. Razin Chai comfortable on a 1:14.9. He is most certainly going to be appearing in the final part of qualifying. It's still Infratic, Adam Sanderson, Cutter Lucas, Matt 2-1-2, and Lolinoba in the bottom 5. Dak Gavince has come out earlier than some of his rivals to have a second attempt in this session. 15.5. 5 for the three-time podium finisher, in the F1 Creator Series. He needs to find a little bit more time just to be comfortable. 0.3 per second in hand, 0.4 per second, in fact, over 11th place in Fratic. There's an opportunity here for Vince to try and get right up there with his teammate.
Yep, he's just started his lap now as he makes his way throughout turn number 1. Runs a bit wide to get the best possible entry in towards turn number 2. And we're just here from Matt212, just saying it wasn't worth it. Getting you set on is like he can read our mind. Most definitely is Matt212. I didn't even say that. He did. But as that guy Vince makes his way towards turn 4 and 5. That was a bit squiggly there from Vince, which meant the entry in towards turn 5 and into towards turn 6 now is not what he would have liked, as he puts a bit of bounce towards the curb. Almost touches the grass there. Goes into 4th and 5th gear in this section in towards turn number 9. We've seen quite a few people invalidate there in real life there, so I wonder if we're going to see that in the race a little bit later on. I'm just keeping my eye now on which ones, which corners people can invalidate on, as Vince setting a personal best set to 2. He's only, I think, a 10th up on his previous best. That will slot him near where Kareem and Alex Gillen is at the moment. So if he nails that final sector, then this could be a good lap, and that can seal the deal for him to make him into Q3. So the Aston Martin driver slots himself right now into P4. That is very impressive. Not far behind his teammate.
Exactly where he would have wanted to be, getting ahead of that gaggle. Alex Gillen, Kareem 17, and Meraki, who is still in the pits and is leaving this very, very late, the Scarlet Ferrari car, as he just emerges. As I say that, Scott Taylor in the pits as well, coming down pit road. Kareem, think he's going to hit traffic. He's down, but not down by a lot in the first sector, 22 thousandths of a second. And that is not going to put him out of kilter, you would imagine. Maybe a bit of a slide coming through the exit of turn number 5 and into the chicane. Again, just a little bit messy from the reigning champion. Is he overdriving ever so slightly, taking a little bit too much curve into 6, unsettling the car through 7, and just making his run through turn number 8 even more compromised than it should have been before. Looking pretty nice, though, in the following few corners. And he has found time in that middle sector. Very good middle sector from the reigning champion. He's 0.2 per second up, and if he can get this lap done, he will be taking part in Q3.
Yes, I mean, he could have found even a 10th or 2 more if he didn't have that slide earlier on. It just shows how fast he is on this game. And I think Kareem is going to slot his ticket into Q3, and that's definitely a time that will seal the deal there. 1:15.1, almost in the 1:14s. I think he definitely would have been in the 1:14s without that mistake. And Emphatic is also 2 or 3 attempts, which will slot himself into, I think, 9th at the moment. It's so tight between the bubble at the moment. Your bottom 5 drivers are Emphatic, Adam Sanderson, Lucas, Matt212, Loninoba. Matt is going again. Loninoba hadn't set a lap time yet. Emphatic has got to find a few tenths for him to make it into Q3 at the moment, yes, but there's still plenty of drivers still to set some lap times. Squats being one of them. He is on the bubble. What can he do? 1:15.3 all the time. They're ever so tight. I think he should be through for now, but the track is evolving quite quickly, Tom, as we head to the final part of Q2.
Loninoba's looking nice as well, inside the top 10 in Q1. This is his one run in Q2. Can he make it through? Dakar Vince is in the pits. He's done, along with GB Razin and Formula Kai. Scott Taylor is the target for Loninoba. He eclipses it by half a second. Lolly is through to the final part of qualifying, and last week's race winner clearly finding the pace and the form that we saw at the end of the F1 24 game cycle. Emphatic with that 1:15.5 is under pressure. So is his Ferrari teammate, in fact, Meraki. 1:15.4. Maybe we'll just have to find a little bit if the performance of the Mercedes is working very, very nicely. Adam Sanson cuts the beam. Can he get inside the top 10? He can, by 0.02 of a second. Fabio's going to be gone. Gridjokes, can he knock his teammate back down out of the top 10? It's Gridjokes to the line. He's P6. Adam Sanderson, for but one moment, thought he was appearing in Q3. Meraki is bumped down because Matt212 pulls the lap out of the bag, and he now holds 10th place. But can the Season 4 champion steal it right at the last gasp? Meraki is P4, and Matt212 by 0.02 of a second misses out. Adam Sanson with a late lap. He thought for one moment he was in, but it was his teammate in the end that did for him. Emphatic, Scott Taylor, and Cutter Lucas, the other 3 to fall. Gwat survives just about, as does that guy Vince with those runs right at the end of the session. But Fabio, I think he'll be disappointed about that. Wasn't an improvement in his middle sector, and that's where the time's gone for the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, you could see he was struggling in the middle sector, and it was only a few attempts that separated him getting through into Q3 and out. But between the likes of Gwatz and Matt212 was about 5 attempts up as he crossed the line. In between Gwatz and Matt212 is a few hundredths of a second separating them. So if he gained a few hundreds, Matt 212 would have gone into Q3 for his first full-time appearance in the Creator Series. But he will take being P11 for now, but surely he wanted to go high, especially with a track that demands so much pace and so much track position here around this track. So I think 1:15.4 for Matt is good, but he surely could have gone quicker. But look at the gap between everyone on the grid as well. I think one mistake could have seen pretty much almost everyone out, unless you're the likes of Kyle Razinchai.
Incredible. The gap between first place Formula Kai and 13th place in Fratic, less than 7/10 of a second. That's why Matt 212, Adam Sanderson in Fratic in particular, will be feeling just a little bit hard done by with the fact that they've missed out on making it through to the top 10 shootout. Formula Kai and Razinchai looking strong. Alex Gillen with a late lap as well, 15 flat to get himself into the top 3 and within 0.2 of a second of the time at the top of the sheets. Carl, this is shaping up to be quite the qualifying session. The big guns just starting to show a little bit of their muscle.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you. Hello, welcome to our beautiful faces again before the final flurry of laps and the supreme shootout gets underway. But honestly, I come back to what you were both saying, which is how close that field is between getting knocked out and between actually staying in for Q3, particularly from P3 downwards. That was such a compact gap. That can only mean Q3 is going to be a sumptuous spectacle, Tom.
This is what we love sometimes about the shorter circuits. It makes qualifying just that little bit more exciting. The field is so congested. The skill gap in Creator Series is getting smaller and smaller as the seasons go by. And this is where we see the benefits of a full qualifying session. You get the drama. You get the drivers missing out by microseconds, milliseconds. That's what it is in the end. The tension of right at the end of the session. And what we've seen with the field being so close, it sets us up beautifully for this Q3.
Jess, I mean, you called it. Formula Kai, Razinchai. It's a great time to be ending phonetically with the phrase I, but I mean, they're the two men at the moment. They found that extra ingredient, that final piece of the jigsaw. They're the people to watch in Q3, surely.
I agree. They've been the ones that the most consistent. They're the one that the most confident around this track as well. I think personally, Carl, it's going to be between the both of them. But before we get started with Q3, Carl, I believe you got an interview.
I do indeed. I mean, if you're on the right side of history, on the part of the times, it's such a sensational feeling. But when the margins are so close, it's agonising. Matt 212, firstly, welcome in. I'm sorry to see you at this point. So close to making Q3. Ultimately, I think you gained nearly a second. Just wasn't enough today.
No, unfortunately. And, well, to be fair, Quartz is a bit of a fan favourite, so I couldn't deny him, could I? Of getting it into that final session, but 0.02 of a second, honestly, much better than last week. I'm happy to be at least in the running this time round, rather than a little bit off the pace.
No, for sure, yeah, and you've got the equal cars as well. Is that encouraging in the sense that you've got that equal performance now, and you have proved you actually can make that top 10 battle?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, last week I kind of came in and it was a complete step into the unknown. And it felt like I kind of came out of Belgium last weekend with even less of an idea as to what my pace was going to be like than going into it. So at least I know this week I'm kind of competitive-ish. But obviously I need to try and help Razin in the championship. We need to try and get Alpine scoring the big points. So hopefully from P11 I can do something.
I love it. I love the confidence. You never know. It might just be your lucky day. Speaking of lucky days, we have a wild card on the horizon. Any particular favourites of yours you might like to see today?
I'm gonna annoy everybody else in this race and say Formula 2. Let's get some F2 racing going on, because I know Alex Gillen will rage incredibly, and that's just always funny to see.
Do you know what? If it materialises, I look forward to it. Matt 212. Oh, it's been a big spin for Formula Kai. Sorry. That was a dramatic moment, Matt. Listen, thank you so much for your time. Commiserations on not making Q3, but the pace is there. Good luck for the race.
I couldn't control my excitement, my shock. I don't know what it was. Formula Kai was fully committed there into the braking zone of turn number 4, but ended up perpendicular to the racing surface, almost trying the reverse entry drift, found himself off the circuit, and that is a set of soft compound tyres, thrown in the skip. He's going to have to go again at a latter point in the session. Razinchai, though, has been the closest competitor for Formula Kai so far in the session. Both of the masters of qualifying Can they convert that to pole position? We'll have to wait and see. We've got the Aston Martin of GB tracking through the final couple of corners. Same with Meraki, who is entering the pits. Maybe an invalidation, maybe a mistake somewhere in there for the Season 4 champion. GB yet to pick up a title so far. He's getting closer. So 1:15.1, still about 0.4 of a second down on the time Formula Kai set at the end of qualifying 2, with GB, at least for the time being, is in the right ballpark, with Alex Gillen tracking nicely also through the final couple of corners.
And with the people near the top of the timers in Q2 would have saved a set of softs for this session, so they would have been on the fresh rubber. And for GB and Alex Gillen, they'll be definitely happy with that, because they don't want to be too quick too early on. But you could see the Mercedes and grid jokes. Definitely the dark horse of this session. A reserve driver filling in for Team McMahon this week. Sorts himself into Q3. He would take that, being his teammate Adam Sanderson as well. And for Razin Chai in P2 at the moment, it is 100th race start in the Creator Series, which I have to say is absolutely insane. And if he could top his 100th race start with a race win, I think that'll be a great milestone moment for him. But he's in P2. Surely he want to gain a few attempts for him to slot himself into pole position. But we'll find out in about 5-6 minutes' time.
100%. 17 milliseconds the gap between Gillen and Razin so far. Formula Kareem, I was going to call him. Kareem 17 with his best lap of the weekend so far. 15.1. Just growing in confidence is the reigning champion, as is his teammate. Red Bull Racing currently leading the Constructors' charge. Kareem has been rock solid for most of the races so far this season. Gwatz has been a little bit up and down, but we've seen the maximum performance sometimes from the former F2 race winner and championship challenger also. We're getting predictions that Kai Pole will be incoming. He's certainly got the speed, just needs to keep it pointing in the right direction. It's a decent first sector for Gwatz. 26.8, 26.5 in the middle sector as well is not too shabby. You'd imagine this is going to be on the new set of tyres, but if he can get somewhere around the two Aston Martins, if he can split the two Aston Martins, I think he'll be very pleased with that as a banker lap to start qualifying 3. 7 minutes to go. Alex Gillen from Razin Chai and Kareem 17. Bit of a wobble as he tries to get the power down through the final corner. Pulling gears up to the line. Gwatz does go. Well, he goes onto the front row. I did not see that one coming. He's shy by 15 milliseconds, but a new contender enters the fray. Gwatz with a 15 flat. He's faster than Razin. He's faster than Kareem. We've got another contender, everybody.
Oh my ravioli, Gwatz is in the picture now, which I wasn't expecting. Maybe he was just getting the sandbags in Q1 and Q2. And maybe he's just like, you know what, anything you could do, I could do better. Gwatz, for the beginning of the season, was a qualifying specialist, and he qualified really, really well and performed really well in the races. But I wasn't expecting him, after what we saw in Q1 and Q2, to pull a lap like that in Q3, and I think Kareem will be quite happy with that. In particular, like you were saying earlier, Red Bull are P1 in the Constructors right now, but Formula Kai, that had that spin earlier on, does not have many chances to go again. I won't be expecting his time to be relatively quick, because he'll probably be on new sets, but if he has some fresh sets, I'll be very, very surprised. But he makes his way towards sector 1, 26.7. And he invalidates Tom. That is very, very gutting. He's done no laps so far. He only has one shot at the end of qualifying to get it right.
Well, Kai has been the master of sector 1 so far, but now 2 occasions in qualifying 3. We've seen mistakes coming through turn number 4. The spin right at the start of the session, and then the invalidation there on his second attempt. Here is what we're going to see. I think this might put his eyes on stalks as he approaches. It just takes a little bit too much curb. The car Tony hawking over it, sending him sideways into the runoff area and ruining his first attempt. This time it was just a track limits invalidation on the outside rather than the fully blown half spin. But just waking Formula Kai up a little bit with those 2 mistakes into turn number 4. It just maybe needs to settle down ever so slightly. He's definitely got the pace to be, at worst, realistically, on the front row of the grid. And if you could just get the lap in, it'll be very, very competitive.
Yeah, I think you've got to nail it. I think Hungary always reaps the rewards and always likes to bring underdog moments, but if you bin it or anything like that, then it could be game over for you. Remember what we saw in 97 in real life, where Damon Hill was looking like he was on cloud 9, and then he had a hydraulic failure and only slot himself into P2. So, you know, anything could happen around him. Meraki slots himself into P6 for now, but only time will tell if it's going to be, if he's going to find a few more attempts to go quicker. We still got Loninoba to set a lap time, as he's had a half spin as well, going through turn 10.
Pushing the limits, these rear tyres giving up to some tune, as Loninoba also trying the reverse entry drift, although this time into the high-speed right-hander of turn number 11. I think Formula Kai, is he going again on this run? Desperate to try and get a banker lap time on the board, but if he wants to get 2 runs in this session, he's going to have to get his skates on a little bit. I would not be surprised if he does head down pit road come the end of this qualifying lap. We're going to stay on board with Formula Kai, who has had pole positions in the Creator Series so far, but yet to pick up his first race win. Could this be the weekend? Well, he'll have to get a decent quali lap on the board. GB is going again, but he's 2/10 down in the first sector. Very, very good middle sector for GB, second in the championship, but he's still down on his personal best with 4 minutes of Q3 remaining. This might be a little bit touch and go. This could be the best that we see from GB68 in the Hungarian Grand Prix qualifying session. Here's another that bails out of it and returns to the pit lane.
If he wasn't going to go into the pits, Tom, I would have been a bit worried with how long we would have got left. I think GB is going to cut it a bit fine if he wants to get out again. But Razin Chai, again, another one of those drivers who wants to improve now and make sure everyone has the pressure late on, because he doesn't want the traffic. We saw in real life how traffic can hinder people's laps, and I think Razin just wants to clear air right here and right now. Razin Chai takes a short run to the line, and it's a 1:14.770 for Razin Chai in the Alpine. He'll be very happy with that, and he's probably going to say, beat that.
Pink paint on his car, but purple sector times lighting up the chart. Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, the fastest of them, all belongs to Razin Chai, and that is the fastest lap time we have seen so far in qualifying. That 1:14.7 beats the time set by Kai in qualifying 2, and that will just set the alarm bells off, I think, for a couple of drivers in the mid-pack. The likes of Alex Gillen, Kareem 17 looking to get the time on the board to challenge him. Razin saying, we'll take it. That sounds to me like he's maybe a little bit disappointed by that lap time. I wouldn't be disappointed at all if I said a 1:14.7. I'd probably be knee sliding through my dining room, but we'll move on from that. It's probably the last we'll see of Razin in this session, but what can the reigning champion do?
Yep, the reigning champion, Kareem 17, in 4th place, but he wants to get into the 1:14 as well. I assume he was on older rubber earlier on, but now he's on fresh rubber, heading towards turn number 1 now. He really needs to take an early apex to get this corner right, as he takes that quite nicely, and it does our reigning champion. He's got his teammate right behind him as well, as Gwatz is about to start his ally. I wonder if those two are going to give each other the toe later on. We'll have to wait and see as Kareem makes his way in towards turn 4 and 5. And it was a 10.5 in the middle of sector 1. It's 2/10 heading towards the end of sector 1. So he is on fire right now. That will slot him around about P2 ahead of Alex Gillen right now. But the curbs may not be his friend in some places, but it seems to me he's just finding some technical natures to try and get that car into pole position. Let's see what he can do towards turn 9 and 10 then. He's got to nail that. He's going to go down, and he's 2/10, almost 3/10 up in the middle sector. Could this be enough to get him into pole, or will Razin Chai snatch it, or even Formula Kai, who's yet to set a competitive lap time?
Fastest first sector, fastest middle sector. Kareem 17 is in the ballpark. Will it be a home run, or will he strike out through the final sector? Just one corner left to negotiate. Dashing to the line is the reigning champion, but he misses out by just under a 10th. Razin, with the life left in the tyres through the final sector, was just over a 10th quicker than the reigning champion. And one challenger falls by the wayside, but the other is going very, very nicely. Formula Kai fast in the first sector, as he has been all qualifying sessions. Been the fastest, the most confident, the most comfortable through the first sector in the F1 Creator Series Hungarian Grand Prix. But there have been mistakes in there for Kai, but he's got the raw pace. Kareem saying he was losing the rears through the final couple of corners. That's what we've seen. The tyre temperatures, as they start to skyrocket, can just leave you a few causes for concerns. But it's Kai now, fastest in Sector 1, fastest in Sector 2 as well. Does he still have the tyre life in the front tyres? Does he have it in the rear tyres? Just one corner left to go for Kai. He's taken multiple pole positions. He's looked like the fastest driver. Kai cuts the beam, and he does take it over from Razin Chai. 6 seconds to go, and it's a 14.6.
I wonder if anyone else could beat that. And Formula Kai, we knew he could do it. We thought he couldn't because he only had one shot, and sometimes him having more pressure just helps him a little bit. Nodding over, slots himself into P4. He hadn't set a lap yet, and he was able to do that with ease. That guy is in 9th place. If he can find a few temps, he can slot himself into P4 and P5 near where his teammate is. P4, he should be happy with that in the 1:14 squats. Could only manage P2. He could get pole position, but to be honest, P2 is like a P1 for Gwatz in the Red Bull. Alex Gillen, your championship leader, he's heading towards the final corner now. Tom, is he going to beat Kai?
Championship leader Kai versus Gillen. The Papaya McLaren rounds the final corner. Where is he? He's on the front row and he misses it by 9 milliseconds. Alex Gillen saved his best for last, but he can't displace Kai. Right at the top, Grid Jokes 15-1. He's in P9. GB takes over in P3. Look at the times between the top 5. They're separated by barely a tenth. Meraki, the season 4 champion, is into P6. The reigning champion now finds himself from second provisionally down in P7. But it's Formula Kai who is the king of the Hungaroring. He's looked like the fastest driver. He was made to work for it in Q3 with a couple of mistakes. Alex Gillen, GB and Gwatz, along with Razin, came on strongly. But in the end, it's our Haas driver that takes pole position and sets himself up beautifully for the race that will be coming very, very shortly. We saw the pace from Kai in Q1, in Q2, and once he got that time locked in, he takes pole position ahead of Alex Gillen. That's his best qualifying for a long time this season. Starting on the front row, blitzed the final sector, but was just shy of the benchmark set by Kai 30 seconds previous. GB didn't look like he had the pace throughout Q1 and Q2, but found a lap when it mattered to get into P3 ahead of the incredibly impressive Gwatz in 4th, beating out Razin by 2 milliseconds. A further 4 microseconds back is Meraki, with the reigning champion only 7th.
I mean, sometimes people like to do laps in the final lap and they just find a few extra temps, even though they don't know how many temps that they could have found early on in the session. They just like the pressure. Kai's found a little bit of that pressure as well. We thought 1 minute Gwatz was going to be on the front row, but Alex Gillen and GB were like, you know what, I want to improve there. But 9,000 separating the front row, that's just absolutely insane. And even 3 temps separating the top 8, that is incredible. But Tom, talk us through our top 10.
Well, it's Kai from Gillen. I think Gillen will be pleased with the lap. That was an absolute corker. He'll be delighted even though he missed out. GB and Gwatz row 2. Then it's Razin, Meraki. Cream ahead of Datka Vince. Solid qualifying for the second Aston Martin. Lolinoba returns to Q3 with Grid Joke stepping in for Tim at Marduk just inside the top 10 in 10th place. Carl, we thought Kai had the outright pace to take it, but my word, did he have to work for that one.
You know, he left it late, didn't he? It's the third time lucky for Formula Kai. I mean, his heart would have been in his mouth all the way through that lap, just saying, please don't do anything stupid in turn 4. But he didn't. He got through that, and once you get past that psychological barricade, hell, anything's possible. But less than 100th in it. That's crazy fine margins.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It just shows we bang on about it, how competitive the Creator Series has become. We love to see it, the drivers on the absolute limit. We saw it from Kai, like you said. Spins into turn 4, wide moments into turn 4. Lolly dropped it as well in the middle sector. Let's not forget, Lolinover in P9. He's less than 0.4 of a second off Formula Kai. He was on a 15 flat. Unbelievably close. Grid Jokes was in and around there as well. So I cannot put my finger on who is going to win this race. There's so many drivers in the fray and so many drivers with an opportunity to make something work.
I couldn't agree more with you. I honestly couldn't. But that last part, Jessica, was mad. Absolutely mad, because you thought, absolutely, Formula Kai had it signed, sealed and delivered. And then, no, Alex Gillen comes along. He's less than 100th away. Gwatz is then almost within a 10th. And then Razin has that lap beforehand where he says it is beatable. Turns out he was right. But then you've got Kareem, even with a lap of 14.8, it's not a lap to turn your snout up at. He only lies on the 4th row of the grid. That's mental stuff.
Welcome to Creator Series. I mean, I started commentating, I think, for a few races in Season 1 and we're in Season X. And with it being this close already on F1 25, I just can't believe it. I didn't think it was going to be this close around a track that's so technical. But with a track like Hungary where qualifying is essential, that probably meant that a lot of people were absolutely sweating for a few days to try and get that absolutely hooked. And I wonder if it's going to be that close in the race. Probably not, due to the dirty air, because we know in Hungary, speaking from experience on F1 25, the dirty air could be an absolute nightmare. And if you get stuck behind a car for a long period of time, tyre wear, bye-bye. So you got to make sure that you have as clear air as possible, and Kai's in a perfect position to do that. But we know Alex Gillen is going to give Kai a run for his money.
Oh, you're quite right. That's the most sumptuous segue imaginable. On to race day then in Hungary, and well, we say it's a qualifying track, and like Jess says, Formula Kai, Tom, is in that crucial position. It's probably going to come down to 2 things today, also barring overtaking racecraft. That is strategy and what on earth this wildcard is going to be, because that needs to be thrown into the equation. If it plays out that it is a bit of a humdinger for the drivers, then you never know. That could just shuffle things up a little bit for them.
I would say there's a third aspect, which is the mental side of this, because Formula Kai hasn't won in the Creator Series before. He's had opportunities, famously Silverstone last season. He was right in there in the thick of the action, but Tim McMulloch stole it from him right at the death, taking it on the last lap. Has he got it? The bottle's the wrong word, because I don't think Formula Kai is the driver that bottles things, but has he got the composure under pressure when he's got one of the most seasoned campaigners right behind him? He's got Alex Gillen on the front row alongside him. He's got GB chasing his first Creator Series crown. He's got Gwatz. He's got Kareem. He's got Razin in the same game as well. Can he hold off those really experienced drivers behind that know how to win races in the Creator Series to pick up that first one? They always say the first one's the hardest to come by. We'll see if that plays out today.
Always the bridesmaid, but never the bride, is the phrase I think coined for the case of Formula Kai. Has come close on a couple of occasions this season even, just not quite there yet. Who knows though, but the way qualifying's gone today could well be his day. Jess, any surprises we need to watch out for here today? Anyone we might actually see really rise up the ranks through the race, or a name that we can put out there where actually they're not quite at the front of the field, but look out, they just have that bit of an X factor to them?
You know what? I know you're going to like this, Carl, but Gwatz. I mean, Gwatz pulled out the lap where we least expected it. We thought he was going to struggle, but bang, he put a lap which will put him into the top 4. There's certain tracks. I think when I last hosted a Creator Series race, he was on the podium. So I think he has the luck on his side just because I'm there. Only joking. But I think it's a track that suits him well. He likes high downforce tracks. This works out very well for him. So I think keep an eye on him. Grid jokes as well. Filling in for Team at Mardet this week. And you would like to see reserve drivers do well. And it is nice to see them making into Q3, which gives them a bit of confidence, maybe going into next season. Maybe I could get a full-time seat potentially, Grid Jokes was thinking. But I think he'll be very, very happy with that as well. But I think Razin Chai, I would expect him just to climb up through the order because it's not where he would want to be. He would want to be up near where Formula Kai is, but he couldn't quite get up there. So we know that Razin Chai likes to climb up through the ranks as well. So we'll see what happens.
For sure. And I turn my eye now away from the drivers themselves specifically as individuals and look at that tremendous team aspect of this, because that Constructors' Championship, we haven't had a chance to look at the standings just yet, but it is tantalisingly close between the top 4 positions. You've got Red Bull, Alpine, Aston Martin, and one other team, can't remember off the top of my head who it is, McLaren, I think.
Ferrari.
Because Alex Gillen has done the work. Oh, Ferrari are close by as well. This is very true. So top 5, not too much between them. But advantage really lies, I think, with Red Bull and Aston Martin. You've got both of those cars in the top 10 today. Around a track where it's difficult to overtake, could work out well for them today, Tom.
100%. The Constructors' battle is always really close. That's the way we like to work it in the Creator Series. Make sure that we do have a battle right until the last gasp. I'm seeing a lot of people starting to filter in, saying, where's the wild card? In good time, I think people will find out on that one. But just to answer your question, because that's the polite way of wording it, yeah, I think Aston Martin will be happy with a bit of a return to form because they haven't picked up too many points in the last few weekends. GB's been very strong, but Vince hasn't always been here. There's been a little bit of inconsistency as well with his performances, but we know the ability and the pace that Datka Vince has got, and I think we saw that as well with himself returning into Q3.
Well, many a wild card has been thrown around. I bet you're all eager for this announcement, ladies and gentlemen, and drivers alike. Hello, everyone. Oh, we are on the edge of our seats. We can't even begin to describe. I won't delay any further. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that was some quality session. But I must admit, we have a confession. While the drivers looked at this track with a bit of denouncement, we asked you to watch this official announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, the new sensation. It's a game of flag orientation. Welcome back to the Creator Series and welcome to the Temple of Speed. The Italian Grand Prix is upon us. Jess, first thoughts on that one?
I mean, you were going from a track that requires a lot more downforce to a track that requires 0 rings. It means there's going to be, I think, drivers that weren't expecting it, because usually in a Creator Series race where the track is known for a long time, they practice for that, right? But this time we're like, no, let's throw in a curveball. Let's throw a track that we least expect. So the drivers are not going to put in the most practice in for this track. They didn't know this track was going to even exist this week. We're going to have drivers that may not love it, but I think the drivers that are going to work well is the one that has the most adaptability and the one that has the best chance of low downforce tracks. But if they want to get a setup for this, they could use our setups for our lovely partners, sim racing setups, by using the code. I can't remember what the code is, Carl. Save me for this one.
!SRS and use our
Thank you.
handy code. You know what to do. Yes, no, you're quite right. And Tom, you talked about the psychological aspect being that important and final third element of proceedings, particularly for Hungary. Again, we flip that on its head here, because in the art of psychological warfare, we now have affairs of attacking artillery. Now we go to Monza, because now it changes. It goes from, okay, it's not so easy to overtake here, we've got to bide our time, try and find maybe a mistake creeping here and there, to now, okay, now I can really send it. You've got that first chicane, Della Roggia, the run to Ascari, maybe even Parabolica. It just opens up a whole world of opportunities.
100%. Like I said, flips it on its head, as we did with the flag. Should have seen it coming, just rotated the flag round, and there was your hint for you. But it's going to make Kai's job just that little bit harder on the run down into turn number one. We go from Hungary, which is one of the shorter runs into turn number one, to Monza, which is chaotic, I think is the best way to put it. Everybody would have driven at some point in an open lobby at Monza and would have experienced getting absolutely... Well, I was going to use a word I can't see it there. You're getting absolutely destroyed down into turn number one. We'll just gloss over that. You all know what I was thinking, right? Down into turn number one. Gareth just said a word, and that wasn't the word that I was thinking of. But down into turn number one. So yeah, his job's been made a lot harder. It gives opportunities for some of the drivers further back. The likes of Alex Gillen, the likes of GB, sat in P3. He's in a great position. If he can tuck into the slipstream, give himself an opportunity to pick up a couple of places down to turn number one. Just throws everything we thought that was going to happen in this race into the bin, and we'll start again, apart from with the grid, of course.
Yes, I put you in the driver's shoes for a second here. You're on the grid, you're at Monza, you're heading into that first chicane. What is your strategy? What is your approach to making sure you get the most out of that first lap?
Survive is the first thing I would say. If anybody remembers, it's pretty hard to forget after what happened last time. We were at Monza last season. It was only a 50% race because it was part of a double header, but we had some interesting antics into turn number one. We had a bit of a controversial collision between about 16 cars. Alex Gillen, Razin, Kareem was in there. I think GB was involved. Tim McMardock as well. That's 5 of them that were definitely involved in the skirmish. And then through Ascari, we had Tim McMardock versus Alex Gillen, part 4,918 as well, which ended with Alex losing his front left tyre. So we've got some good Creator Series lore around this circuit. So if I'm some of the drivers at the front, just try and make sure you're still in the race, make sure you're still in the right ballpark, still in the competition, because with the dirt here, it can be a little bit harder to overtake than maybe we would traditionally associate with Monza on the F1 game.
Was good to me. Jess, your thoughts on that one?
I think to not bin it is a good start there, but I think it depends where you start on the track, really. If I was near the back, hopefully that other people don't bin it and just take it easy, because the race is not over in lap one. They still got 1,000,001 laps to do, pretty much. So don't go full send into turn one, because otherwise there could be chaos. And don't brake like you normally do into turn one. Brake a bit early, because otherwise you're going to have lots of cars pile into you. Just be aware of your surroundings a bit more. And if you lose place at the start, as long as you gain them towards the end of the race, that's all that matters. And yeah, I think we don't know what the weather's going to be either, so this could turn into absolute chaos. But we know with Monza, it's about who can have the lowest wings, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's Alex Gillen's clipbook bugbear when he reviews all the Creator Series footage of drivers not braking early enough. He'll be hoping, starting from the front row, that they do, because otherwise that's going to be a bowling exercise down Antonelli alleyway for the ages. we've only had, fun fact, no one has been a repeat winner. Anytime we've went to Monza in the Creator Series, we haven't had a repeat winner. There's been Tiamat Marduk, Tom, Alex Gillen, Tom97, and GB68. Will we see a repeat winner today, Tom, or will history be made? Will we have another first-time winner?
I mean, statistically, 3 of the drivers that won before aren't racing this week, so you've got to knock those out of the equation. I think Formula Kai, well, we don't know. I was going to say it's looking strong, but we don't know what his pace is like around this circuit. We know that Alex Gillen's strong here. We know that GB's been strong here in the past, like you said. I think this will suit somebody like Gwatz and Kareem as well, even though they're starting maybe less so in Gwatz's case, but a little bit further back than I think Kareem in particular would have been hoping for. So just throws everything up in the air, gives us an opportunity to see some really good racing as well, because Hungary, there are some people saying that, you know, we would have wished we could stay at Hungary. Have you watched a league race on Hungary so far this season, or on the F1 24 game cycle? I mean,
it's boring.
Certain ones that I've seen, I'd really rather gouge my eyes out with a spoon, I'll be honest. So I'm very happy that we're moving to Monza. It gives us an opportunity. As George Morgan, the legend George Morgan has just said, we could have another I was there moment, and who wouldn't want to miss out on that opportunity?
Absolutely. Who doesn't love an I was there moment? Jess, who do you think is going to take the win? What's your prediction for the Italian Grand Prix?
Oh, this is a very tough call, but I think you think it's going to be a different winner. I think we could see redemption for Alex Gillen. He messed up last time at Monza. He's going to have that at the back of his mind, and he's going to, I think, hope that doesn't happen again. I think he is going to win this one because he needs that race win after a horrific race last time out. So I think, in my opinion, Alex for the race win. He's going to redeem himself.
Well. Alex Gillen apparently is not very happy with proceedings that we've turned the flag on its head to go to Monza, but you never know. Perhaps we've seen this a lot, actually, in terms of drivers not particularly liking a certain track and then actually doing very well. So you never know. Might just be his lucky day. And what better way to break the winning streak than to kickstart the final fateful 4 rounds with a victory. That all remains to be seen, though. It's time for 53 laps at the Temple of Speed with our wonderful commentary team. It's Tom Wilkinson and Jessica Bull.
Well, thank you once again, Carl. And now, from Hungary, the Colosseum awaits us in the blink of an eye, blasting from the battleground bends of Budapest to the monumental motorsport mecca. It is, of course, in the heart of Lombardy. It is the Italian Grand Prix. From Hungary to Italy, Monza awaits us. And this should be very, very exciting. As we wait for the strategies to be selected and those fuel loads finalised, if we look right at the sharp end, there is a sense of potentially a bit of a gladiatorial tussle right at the front of the grid. Obviously, Alex Gillen's golden run at the start of Season X, lighting the fuse, 3 wins from 3, a blazing start that saw him scorch into that early lead. The fire hasn't gone out yet. That would be very, very harsh, but it did flicker a little bit last time out with Gillen and also Kareem 17, both stumbling as other rivals surged. The gap 19 points at the top between Gillen and GB 68, as he is also stoking his own charge, trying to pursue a first Creator Series crown. Jess, it would have been a bit of a shock, I would imagine, but heading down into turn number 1, we spoke a little bit about it, that heavy braking zone, no rain forecast, which is very good news. How do you approach it? We've spoken about it at the front. If you're in the mid-pack, though, can get a little bit tight, a little bit of a pinch point as well at the apex of 1 and 2. How would you be approaching it?
I think the main point is you've got to avoid looking up your tyres, because if you look up your tyres into turn 1 and mess up your braking point there, then that's where the chaos is going to happen. So make sure you get your braking point right and do not lock your tyres too much, because otherwise the tyre wear is going to be an absolute nightmare. Don't hit the curves too much in lap 1, because otherwise it could be chaos there as well, because otherwise there could be a lot of damage. And then make sure you get a bit of slipstream as well in lap 1 potentially, because it may hurt them later on in the race, but as you got the fresher rubber, that's where you're really going to have a very good time. So don't hit the curbs too much and avoid tyre lock-up. That's my strategy.
There are some big belters of curbs around this circuit you've got to be careful of. Track limits as well. Obviously, we haven't spoken about it being Monza, but you've got to be careful through the second chicane, through the Lesmos as well. If you just get a little bit wrong, a bit lazy on the exit, Ascari, another one as well. Got to be so precise when you're threading the needle, especially with the dirty air that has, of course, been introduced. We sound like a broken record talking about the dirty air, but it does just bring that extra element of you have to race more at sort of 90% rather than 100%, which you could do on the previous F1 games because you could just absolutely floor it with no concern for the drivers in front because you wouldn't have the dirty air and there'd be absolutely no troubles just staying 1/10 of a second off the car in front of you.
I think dirty air has been a big problem for not just the creators, but for us as well, who had a dip in the F1 25 games as well. You got to brake slightly early than you did normally if you're following another car, because I've learnt the hard way around Monza. I broke into turn 1 like I normally do on F1 24, just slightly earlier. Turns out I had to brake slightly earlier than that because I ended up hitting someone. So yeah, dirty air can have a massive effect. If I were you, just a few temps shy instead of like 1 temp shy, and you should be absolutely fine, of course. But I know, obviously, we didn't have qualifying around it. What the team game, I think, is going to be quite crucial as well. If one driver maybe not is doing as well, could they maybe potentially help the other driver to make sure that they do get that slipstream and maybe make sure no other driver has that advantage? I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns going into this, and it turns out also the other unknown is it going to be a 1-stop or a 2-stop? Well, we don't know because the drivers have only been told about this track literally 5-10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's not a track that you traditionally associate with being high tyre wear around the circuit of Monza. I think 1-stop is what we would expect, but some drivers might want to roll the dice. They might not fancy the hard tyres, for example, and want to use the soft tyres because, of course, we've had the lobby reset, so everybody gets the soft compound tyres back in their arsenal, whether they want to start on the soft tyres or save them for later on if we do see a few safety cars, which is very possible, I think it's fair to say, around this Monza circuit. We will have to wait and see. There's this long run down to turn number 1 that I'm so interested to see what happens. Formula Kai is going to have to completely change his game plan. He would have been under very little pressure down to turn number 1 at Hungary. Maybe Alex Gillen with an opportunity starting on the front row alongside him. We did see Kai have an absolutely terrible start a few weeks ago in Bahrain, starting on the front row, dropped back into, I think, P5 or P6. So making life a little bit harder for himself there. We'll want to make sure he doesn't repeat that on this occasion, starting from pole. There are opportunities throughout the grid to make up places. How aggressive people will be. Will they just try and keep their front wing intact? There's so much for us to deliberate and think about as the setups are going to be finalised. The fuel loads as well, and the strategies for all of our drivers. Now that we have had the change, though, we can almost switch up our prediction. I know you said that Alex Gillen, you were fairly confident in him doing fairly well. I think Formula Kai would have gained a lot of confidence from his qualifying lap. Everybody else in the chat, if you want to throw your predictions in. Also, just as we wait for people to ready up in the session for the Demolition Derby formation lap to kick us off. But I'm actually fancying our first repeat winner. I think GB68 from P3 could get himself in a great position. And GB, it has to be said, is a very good front runner.
He is. And, of course, it was only a 50% race for GB, but he likes this track. He always does well when he comes to open lobbies. So I'm not that surprised that you've gone for him as well. Of course, he's challenging Alex Gillen for the title. And if he was to get a race win around here, then that would definitely boost his championship hopes. But you can see the cars now on the grid as they do their formation lap. I wouldn't want to be in the middle like with Matt 2-on-2 grid jokes. I wonder what they will be thinking going into this, as we've already had Demolition Derby already, Tom, with Scotty Designs and Hayden Gullis being disqualified before even they reached turn 1.
And that was Kai slamming into the rear of Alex Gillen. Whether Gillen was paused in game, we'll have to wait and see if he gets thrown into the shadow. And you can see the polystyrene being thrown up, giving us a taste of what styrophobia was like once upon a time. Let's not remember those altercations before those. We see a Red Bull getting reset from running off the circuit. Got a nice split of tyres as well. I've definitely seen the soft tyres, I believe, on Alex Gillen's car. Well, I say nice bit of tyres. I saw 2 drivers on the softs, and it turns out that all of the drivers I didn't see are running the yellow stripe medium. So Alex Gillen and Scott Taylor in P14 going for the alternate strategy, along with Scotty Designs, who's been disqualified from the formation lap, on the hards, and Hayden Gullis also on the softs, looking to make up places in the early stages, as Razin is also given the ban hammer and dropped onto the naughty step.
Yeah, so Razin also got disqualified as well. And in previous F1 games, especially on F1 24, your tyres are going to be massively cold. And you do not want to have cold tyres around Monza. Believe you me, because it's a short run. in towards turn number 1. You're going to be looking for the 150-meter board to break, and it's not going to be that long at all. Break or you miss it, to be honest. So I think for those 4 drivers that still to be that are not in the formation lap currently, they're going to be a bit worried at the moment. But just a reminder, in case you didn't see it on the video, Part Ferme is off. So we're not going to see 50-50 wings. I wish Part Ferme was off, Tom, because it would have been funny to see 50-50 wings around Monza. I think we've seen plenty of wildcards where we had 50-50 wings in like Las Vegas, for example, and it worked well. Would have loved to have seen how that changed the strategy, but no, we got Part Ferme off for this race. It is back to the usual 0-0 wings, but it would have been funny if we saw 50-50 around Monza.
I would agree, it would have been funny. I think the only counter that I would say is the fact that it just sort of levels itself out because everybody's then running those high downforce setups. So it's not like people, I highly doubt there have been too many people that would have taken a risk on running really low wings at Hungary and would come into this race with a big advantage. But there would have been an opportunity perhaps. But this is what we're left with. And we get ready to go. Not in Hungary, we're racing in Monza. We weren't expecting this, it'd be a lottery into turn number 1. What numbers are you backing, everybody? Kai versus Gillen on the front row. We have 5 red lights, and we are racing for the Italian Grand Prix. Riccio 3, though, has DNF straight away, and that is the worst possible start for the Williams driver. Alex Gillen's gone out like an absolute bullet as he nicked the lead from Formula Kai down into turn number 1. The Williams pulls off to the side, and Kai losing places by the second. Watt's trying to hang it around the outside of Rasenchai. GB trying to do the same to Formula Kai. The pole sitters, there's an Alpine off the circuit, I believe. It is Matt 212, and still side by side now through Curva Grande. We go just enough space there for GB on the inside, with Formula Kai battling desperately to hold on to as many places as possible. He does file into second place ahead of GB, Razin and Guox as they duel over 4th and 5th.
Good start there from Alex Gillen. He's already 7 tenths up on Formula Kai, which what he wanted. Lonnie Nova around the outside of Adam Sanderson. Lonnie Nova, the home favourite, of course. He was probably one of the drivers that would have loved to race around this track, and the home favourite is definitely starting as he means to go on right now, as he's now going to chase down Fatit for P9. Also looking good is Hayden Gullis, started last and it's up into 15th spot. He always have a track train. We can see Grid Jokes down the inside of Scott Taylor into Scary. Scary can always catch a driver out, especially with dirty air, but there's no such problems for Grid Jokes. Tukey has got past Hayden as well, up to 13th, but Scott Taylor has lost a place in the process. I believe Ricky didn't even get going in the main race. I don't think he was able to join, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. But Chappers got another move done, and Alex Gillen already a second ahead, which is very impressive.
Yeah, he's broken the DRS, and that's exactly what he would have wanted to do on those soft compound tyres, and leaving Formula Kai slightly in his wake. Darting over to the inside goes the RB, but look at that, out of control is the Kick Sauber. I think that might have been Scott Taylor taking a couple of drivers with him. Definitely was the Williams of Tukey. Both of them pick up 10-second corner cutting penalties, and race is absolutely ruined, and there is the confirmation. You can see it at the top of the screen. Session red flagged, and a bit of a game glitch for Ricky, who I think disconnected into the loading screen, joined back in, and then instantly was retired. Means that his race ended shortly, but he will get another go, which is absolutely lovely for the Williams that I think was starting down in P16. But, Carl, we've had a bit of a taste of what would have happened on the opening lap. The main question that I have, though, is do people keep with their strategies? Carl, you're muted.
I'm not muted anymore. Hello. Right.
Hey!
A premonition of what's to come. You're quite right. But, yeah, I concur, quite frankly, because Alex Gillen's start on the softs was meteorically quick, and ultimately it was drivers not braking early enough that almost caused a bit of chaos, particularly GB's point of view, where he almost clattered into the back of Alex Gillen and caused all kinds of mayhem. Didn't quite happen, though. But they've had a taste of what's to come in the Turn 1 mayhem. We'll have more time, though, once we actually get this race back underway, and Ricky will rejoin us, so that is good news. But like you say, there's a whole lot of unknowns now. Do they take that approach differently? Does Kai in particular change his strategy? Because ultimately he got caught out. Or does he stick with it? Does he think there's a bit of a long game to play? Like you say, the mental aspect of this is probably the most intriguing point of all here.
Fascinating chess match, isn't it? Down to turn number 1. We go again. I can still hear racing going on in the background, so I'm not sure how many of the drivers have been informed that we are having the restart. But yeah, I think if you're Kai, if you're Alex Gillen, you know that it worked out perfectly for you. Got like an absolute rocket ship, found himself in the lead straight away, broke the DRS. That was the crucial thing for Alex Gillen as well. So that will just be food for thought, I think, for the guys behind.
No, quite right. If you're in Alex Gillen's position here, Jess, you probably have to stick with the same thing, don't you? If it worked so well the first time, so nice, you got to do it twice.
Exactly. If I was Alex, run the same setup as you did before. You could tell he was a little bit more comfortable on the start as well, and just make sure you do the same thing, and hopefully no one else follows you. I mean, Alex does not want the same thing to happen as he did last time. He knows it's a trap that he doesn't like, and he probably would have been annoyed that he would have had the restart after such a good start. But sometimes that's what has to happen, because of course we want to have all 20 drivers ready to race, and we only had 19, and it was unfair that we had the game glitch. But I think what Alex needs to do now is have the confidence that, right, if I've done it before, I could do it again, do the same thing. Hopefully everyone else breaks early into 2-1, and Bob's your uncle. So Alex has just got a good start, and if I was Kai, I would do exactly different. Make sure you keep an eye on what Alex is doing, and make sure you can outsmart him.
Quite right at that. I'm gonna give you both a chance to maybe twist or stick in terms of your predictions in this beautiful game of blackjack. So Tom, you first of all, are you gonna stick with your initial prediction, or you're gonna twist? You're gonna change it up a little?
Part of me wants to go for the most almighty of outside shots and say that after what's happened, Ricky 03 is going to come through at his home race and absolutely storm it and come through and win. Unfortunately, I don't think that's quite going to happen. I'm sticking, though. I think GB is a really safe shout. He's in some really good form. He had a bit of a dodgy one a couple of weeks ago, but I think he's got 4 podiums in his last 5 races, and 2 of those were race victories. So in a really, really rich vein of form. Alex Gillen hasn't tailed off. I think that would be harsh, but had a difficult one last week in Belgium with the the realistic performing cars. Sorry, it's given GB, I think, just that little bit of impetus to try and chase Alex down. He's hunting him down. That gap, like I said before, down to 19 points. I think he can just see that McLaren homing into view, and that will give him the confidence and the determination to get this one over the line.
Jess, I asked the same question to you. You sticking with your prediction, or you're gonna spice it up a little?
I think after what I saw in the first little dummy start, because obviously Ricky had that issue, I'm going to stick with my prediction of Alex, but he's got to play tactical in this one as well, because you can't afford to be P1 all the time, because you're going to get that slipstream. So we know what Alex has got to do now, but after seeing what he done in the first few laps, I'm confident that he's going to do the same again.
Fair play to you both. Let's talk about the story of the season then, because I think that's a big talking point. We've got through 2/3 of the season now. We're into this final third proceedings, and ultimately that championship fight at the top in the drivers is getting that little bit closer. It's not exactly being broken down at a rapid rate of knots, but Tom, like you say, if you put your money on GB, he's got to absolutely do this today. He's got to keep piling on that pressure, because Alex, I think, has got his strategy worked out here, and he knows exactly what approach he's going to take, even when there's this restart. So if he gets away early doors, and there's nothing really in terms of safety cars to get in the way, you never know.
Yeah, and I think I said before that GB is a really strong front runner when he gets out into the lead. Alex Gillen, along with maybe Tim McMulloch and Kareem 70, are probably the best at, once you get into a lead, doing a Max Verstappen or a Lewis Hamilton or a Sebastian Vettel from years gone by, just cruising off into the distance, giving yourself a massive buffer to work with, and then you just control the race from there and under very limited pressure. That's what we saw Alex do in the early stages of this season. Canada in particular was a really strong performance from himself, got the strategy absolutely right when we had the Rainbow Tyre Challenge. Since then, the pace has been really strong. He could have won at Baku if he didn't get involved in some collisions, let's say, between himself and Tim McMulloch in the early stages. Just put him a little bit too far on the back foot. A couple of second places in the Austria double header, and then it was into Miami where he missed the week. Then solid at round number 7, and then it was last week that's just put him on the back foot, like we said. So if he gets out into the lead, he'll be very, very strong. But if someone like Kai can stay ahead, or importantly, if GB can get ahead of Alex, that just changes the game for him ever so slightly.
Of course, you put Raz in that conversation. Kareem's not far behind us either. Don't forget, it's a 4-horse proceeding at the moment, but that could all change in a heartbeat. You just never know. Jessica Ball, you've been on this broadcast team for a few of these now, in terms of, I remember Reverse Silverstone was one of them, a smattering of others, including this one. But looking back at the season we've had so far, is there any one particular race that you've watched that really stands out to you so far?
Oh, I'm just trying to remember what races were there. I really enjoy Reverse Silverstone because you never know what was going to happen. It was the first time I think we ever done a reverse race around anywhere, and I love the double header around Austria, because we had the going the right way round and then going the wrong way round, and it threw completely different strategies and a completely different winner as well. So I enjoyed that. But out of the ones I have not raced in, I really enjoyed the first one, Spain. I think the reason why I enjoyed the first one, because it was a bit of the unknown. No one would have known what happened. It was quite a lot of really good racing. No one knew what to expect. And we saw a potential last lap battle. We thought that Team Amala was going to get past Alex Gillen, but due to the dirty air, it was not going to happen. That's where we find out that the dirty air was going to be a big issue. So, yeah, I think Spain was one of my highlights out of the ones I didn't commentate on or host on.
Yeah, exploring the elements and an air of mystery. Can't go wrong with those two races. Tom, nice and quickly, as we're booting into the race in a moment, has there been any standout race for you this season so far?
Oh, let's just go through. I think Spa last week was actually a lot of fun, seeing how that unfolded. Bahrain was an interesting one when we had no safety cars a couple of weeks ago as well. I think going back to, just the season opener at Spain, I found that really, really fascinating. The way that we saw for the first time the strategy game unfold. Safety cars played their part, but I think Alex Gillen on those aging mediums, I think it was, holding off Tim Malik right at the end. You know, the box office battle between those two drivers. That's what we love to see, especially considering how clean it was for the majority of it as well. I think that stands out as the highlight, but this one has the opportunity to be a really good one as well.
I couldn't agree more with you, and I concur with you. I thought Spa was an absolute triumph. In terms of the wildcard did its job. It got drivers you wouldn't expect to see up there, just fighting at the front, with some drivers you perhaps might not have seen. Right. Take two, ladies and gentlemen. Take two for the Italian Grand Prix. Strap yourselves in. We're getting ready for the grid for our race here in Monza. So, back to our commentary team to take us through this sonorous symphony of V6 sound. It's Tom Wilkinson and Jessica Ball.
Yeah, Monza 2, Electric Boogaloo. Feels like we've been here before already, unsuccessfully. Didn't even make it down to the Rettifilia chicane because of the little game bug that Ricky03 experienced. But he's back in, and he has that opportunity, as he rightly should, to get a go at trying to pick up some points for the Williams team. We can't see the tyre strategies at the moment. We're going to keep it secret as well. But no formation up also, so we can't deliberate there. So it's going to be a shock to see what tyre compounds everybody's selected. Setups, you would imagine, will be the same for what they went first time around. Fuel loads the same as well. And there's an opportunity here, like we said before, for somebody to make a run for the front.
Yeah, they would have learned what they would have done in the first one. And if the ones that want to have done well, they're going to try and do exactly the same thing. But if there's drivers that want to nail it, then they're probably going to have to do something different. So, and we know that maybe some drivers may want to do different tyres because maybe they think that one of the tyres may not work. But it won't be that long before we get underway. Tom, take us through the lights.
Well, we've seen it before. We're going to see it again for the second time. It is 5 red lights, and we are racing in Italy. It is Formula Car in the front row alongside Alex Gillen, and they have changed their tyre strategies. Gors with a poor start, losing places. Alex Gillen from first on the first start now finds himself battling away with GB just to hold on to second place as the Ferrari of Meraki sticking his nose up the inside of a couple of cars and coming to blows with Gors running slightly wide. And there's a pinch point just at the end of turn number 2. I think Meraki's losing a whole host of places. Datkovic's caught out as well. Tuki for the second time, picking up a penalty for ignoring yellow flags. There was carbon fibre confetti in the midfield also. Not sure who it was from, but it's Formula Kai, unlike he did on the first attempt. He holds on to the lead of the Grand Prix, and GB does get ahead of Gillen.
That was more like it from Kai. He learned his lesson and he know when to pick his breaking point, and he's now going to try and do the same opposite what Alex Gillen did on the first one. As you can see, I think we're trying to do exactly the same thing as he did the last lap. Hayden Gullis making a few positions yet again, so he's definitely continuing where he left off last time. The two Red Bulls fighting side by side. Let's hope there's no team orders there, but Kareem has passed Watts up into 5th spot. But Formula Kai and GB, who won last time in Monza last season, is definitely doing what he needs to do. He's going to try and stay within DRS, and I think he'll be happy with that. It's a shame that Tuki had that 10-second penalty already. That's going to haunt him for the rest of his first stint, unfortunately. But there'll be many other drivers who'll probably be hoping for those kind of things already. But a lot cleaner, should we say, for quite a few drivers compared to the first dummy race. So that is great to see. But you can already starting to see Alex Gillen trying to tuck into the slipstream of GB68. Can he get past in towards T1? It's going to be out, but GB shuts the door.
Just hovers on the inside of GB, but wasn't intending to make that move stick. Bowter's going on behind as Matt 2-on-2 looks to hold on to his grip of 9th place ahead of last week's winner Lolino. But excellent start as well for the Ferrari of Infratic, was 13th on the grid, but now comfortably inside the top 10, holding position number 7, ahead of the likes of Gridjoke and Matt 2-on-2. Meraki was caught out by that little bit of contact between himself and Gwartz going through turn number 2. Dak Gavins, a sufferer in that collision as well, down from 8th on the grid to 12th, with Scott Taylor and Adam Sanson trading blows, and I think the Mercedes may have fallen off the circuit as Hayden Gullis, so thank you very much. But I look at the kick Sauber there, and he is missing a considerable amount of front downforce.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost quite a bit of ground, unfortunately, and it's not ideal at all. And I think there's going to be plenty of drivers that want to gain positions anyway. And that was very, very tight between Meraki and Ollie Noble there, but Meraki doing the smart thing and not going for the move there because there wasn't much space. So quite a lot of drivers are playing it smart. They don't want to go for really ambitious moves straight away because otherwise they're going to be pushing on their tyres. And if you're aggressive on your tyres, you're going to have more tyre wear compared to the ones who don't overdo it and be a lot smoother on their tyres, as we can see fastest lap after fastest lap for all of our drivers so far. GB switches down past Formula Car. He takes the lead of the Grand Prix just like he needed. The DRS around here is so powerful, and you can see the Alpine trying to get past Kareem, but Kareem was like, nope, thank you very much, that 4th place is mine. But Razin Chai does get past Quartz. Razin Chai trying to tuck into the system past Curve Grande for the 3rd time of asking. He would probably try and go for the move here if it was on F124, but on F125 it's a lot harder. You can see more moves being made. We got, I think, one of the Williams cars of Tuki trying to get past Scott Taylor. It's going to be very tight towards turn number 4 because the sausage curve will come back to bite you, and there was a few people that gone off the circuit. Luckily, no harm done, no damage, because it could have ended up a lot worse.
Yeah, Scott Taylor hobbled by that front wing damage. Through goes Sanson, through goes Katalukas, but Tuki still a footage in the rearview mirrors of the kick Sauber, now behind his teammate Riccio 3 as well, and not working out for him at all. Down to turn 1, it was actually Kareem pulling the move around the outside of Razin Chai to get 4th place away from. A good start for the reigning champion from 7th on the grid, disposed of his teammate, although I think there were a little bit of team orders involved in that one, and then pulling a move on Razin Chai, putting some manners perhaps on Razin after how strong he looked in qualifying to get that P4 off his hands. GB starting to race off into the distance, though 7/10 of a second he's got over Formula Kai. Should be comfortable as they cut the beam to start lap number 4. Fastest lap to boot as well for the Aston Martin driver, but as the DRS flap open, Formula Kai looking very, very speedy in a straight line. That gap has halved. Kareem and Gwartz moving out to just try and cool the car in the dirty air. Oh, and that was Kai very late on the brakes. Double lock up for the Haas driver, started on pole of course, dropped down to 2nd, and he almost clattered into the rear of the Aston Martin.
That could have been curtains before they even got going, and it took a while to get started. And imagine if you would have retired on lap 4, this would have been not good. But GB, I think, over the moon, but I think his pressure is not on Formula Kai right now. It's on Alex Gillen, according to his team Reggio. He thinks that Alex Gillen can get past Formula Kai to challenge GB, but we know GB and Alex Gillen have challenged each other before, and we see some superb racing between the both of them in the Creator Series, fighting against each other. So I wonder if we're going to get a repeat like we saw back then as well. But it's great to see Formula Kai in the picture as well, but we know Alex Gillen is a lot quicker. GB's almost broke free of DRS for Formula Kai, but Formula Kai is saying no thank you, I want to try and close in. So maybe there might be certain situations where the straight line speed is just a lot better for the likes of GB and Alex Gillen. We almost saw some move into Ascari. Ascari could make or break a driver's day, but at the moment it seems to me that not many people are struggling there, but as the tyres start to wear out a little bit, they're going to probably struggle a little bit more. As we can see, one of the Mercedes drivers, Adam Sanderson, he doesn't care that he can't get a move done yet. He wants to get the move done now.
100%. Battles going on, jinking all over the place is Alex Gillen, searching for an opportunity to try and take 2nd place off the hands of Formula Kai, who was also closing up to the back of GB down to the braking zone of the first chicane. The Red Bull of Kareem, Razin Chai, and then the other Red Bull of Watts just sitting in formation behind, with Infratic, Gridjoke, Lolanova and Matt 2-on-2 rounding out our top 10 in this race. Adam Sanson, you saw, with a bit of front wing damage as well, as he gets stuck in to battle forward, is now 16th between himself and Scott Taylor. GB looks comfortable out in front though. That gap in the middle sector in particular does extend quite substantially, 8/10 of a second now. If he can break the DRS to Kai and et al behind, he'll be feeling very, very confident, very comfortable about his chances of potentially going for a lights to flag victory. Alex Gillen half a second further back. Fabio, you can see in the background coming out of the second Lesbo, getting out of the slipstream, trying to cool the car as much as possible. They're going to be at full throttle for a very high percentage of this lap. That is going to see the engine temperatures absolutely spiral So if you don't get out of the slipstream, don't get some cool air into the front engines, just the normal engines, no front and rear engines of those Formula 1 cars, you will be down on power, and that will leave you just that little bit compromised down the straights.
Yeah, I think you don't want to be too close too quickly, and because otherwise it could cause some bother. But I'm starting to look at certain drivers that are doing a lot better than their qualifying. There's one driver that hated Hungary, that likes Monza, is emphatic, but we got a move going on for the next few positions. Razin Chai has passed Kareem 70, and he takes Caddy from a baby, and Razin Chai is through into P4, and he is loving life in that Alpine. I think he's got a brilliant chance of winning this race, and that is really, really great news. And we could see the top 7 are on medium tyres. Only a few drivers have gone for different strategies. Grid Jokes on hards, as well as the likes of Tukey, Scott, and Scotty Designed, by the way. Ricky had to pit early for hards due to damage. Scott Taylor did get damage on lap 1. That was why he was compromised, but he would rather stay out than go into the pits because he would lose a lot more time otherwise. But those are your tyre strategy. Not surprised that quite a few people have gone for something different. Alex Guinness was on softs in the dummy race. He's gone for mediums this time around.
Yeah, just talking about Razin Chai as well. Obviously got past Cream down to turn 1, but in turn that's just pushed them away from Alex Gillen, Formula Kai, and GB out in front, which is a bit problematic because if you drop out of the DRS, we know how powerful it is. That's just going to leave you that little bit compromised. And look at that, Alex Gillen menacingly tucked right underneath the rear wing of the pole sitter Formula Kai. He's already leaked 1 place in this race. Both of them have been overtaken by the fast-starting GB and the Aston Martin as we start lap number 7. Kai over to the left-hand side of the circuit, trying to cool his Haas Formula 1 car. The gap closing all the time, but has absolutely no interest in making a move down into turn 1. Alex Gillen filing in behind as well. But look, that is the first real break in the DRS train right at the sharp end. Razin Chai does not get the DRS, so he's pushed away. Lolin Ober is on the move and in the groove, though he's already passed Matt 2 on 2. Now makes mincemeat of Grid Jokes to get up into P8.
I mean, there's lots of moves being made already on lap 7, as we've always saw Scotty Designs, by the way, making a mistake, and Adam Sanderson is like, thank you very much, that's my position gain for the Mercedes driver, of course, wanting to climb as many positions as he can because he really doesn't want to be this low down. Don't forget, top 15 do score points, and there was almost a hit between Scotty Designs and Adam, but he broke earlier and there was no problem at all at the moment. And luckily in this lobby, we're not expecting any rain either, which is probably a relief to certain drivers right now. You can really start to see people setting personal best right now. I think for Razin Chai and Alex Gillen, they're around about a few temps separating them. I think Alex and Razin are going to be the ones to watch out for, because GB's last lap was a 123. Everyone else is a 122. Everyone is going for GB at the moment, and quite a few people are going for Kareem as well. Emphatic is the fastest guy out of the ones with the best of the rest. He's set at 122. It's the Fosse home crowd here. Emphatic wants to do well. He's probably relieved, Tom, that Monza is a track and not Hungary, because he's absolutely loving life out there.
100%, looking strong. Mainly the top 3 out in front as Razin Chai just begins to fall away from that leading trio that are working together nicely. Formula Kai, though, he is just struggling to cling onto the coattails of GB still in that middle sector. There have been opportunities for GB to try and get the Haas out of the 1 second window, especially with Formula Kai trying to cool the car as much as possible, cool the brakes, cool the engine, and cool the tyres. If he does drop out of the 1 second window, that gives Alex Gillen then the opportunity to try and get ahead of him and maybe stick with GB and keep himself in that fight for the lead battle. We've got a big DRS train from 4th place Razin Chai down to 12th place Dat Guy Vince. Then we have another bit of a break for Hayden Gullis, who, as you can see there, saying he is in absolute no man's land, and I would agree with him. 3.5 seconds already to the group in front. They've got 2 seconds in hand over Cutter Lucas behind.
Yeah, I mean, Hayden had such a good start earlier on as well. Yes, he's in 13th, and he said he had a bad start. Well, he started last and he's up to 13th, but I think if I was Hayden, he probably would have thought he wanted to be in some battles and not just on his own. So yes, he gained 7 places, but he just wanted to have some fun trying to overtake people. So he's got to try and close up as quickly as he can. But another reason why he could be in no man's land is the soft tyres. He was one of those drivers that went for the bold strategy to go pretty much different to the norm, and it's not working out for him. And we can see, I think, the ones on the soft struggling as Kareem 17 has got Razin Chai back, and he's back up into 4th place. He's a little bit further behind Alex Gillen, so Kareem's struggling for grip, it seemed, compared to his nearest rivals, which is going to help Alex Kai and GB out as we go later on in this race. Scotty Designs, by the way, up into 16th place. past Scott Taylor. Scott Taylor's damage is definitely hurting him right now. And GB saying he needs a miracle to drop Kai in the corners. You could tell, looking at the timings on your screen, Kai is an absolute beast in the corners. But when it goes to the straights, that's where GB really shines.
Yeah, he has got the gap out to, I think, 9/10 of a second, the maximum in the middle sector as Kai just grapples with the dirty air. But then the DRS comes into effect and Kai can just cruise back up to the rear of the Aston Martin. Not sure if you caught it, but I don't know how wise it was for Razin Chai to let Kareem 17 go through, because he has got some significant front wing damage. I think it was the front right end plate that the reigning champ is missing. Yes, there you can see it, and maybe a little bit more as well. So Razin Chai struggling for pace, but Kareem, I think, is going to be even slower with that front wing damage. Fabio doing a good job in 7th as well. Had to defend at the start of the previous lap because Lolinova is looking very feisty in that RB car, buoyed by the confidence of picking up that 3rd Creator Series victory a week ago. His first trip to the podium. I don't think Kareem's going to fight this one. Jock gets well out of the way, and Razin Chai will fly back through into position number 4. But there could be some positions changing just behind, because Gwatz is under a little bit of pressure from both drivers in his rear view mirrors. Fabio just sits in behind, and as does Lolinova, happy to just retain the formation and hold the status quo for the time being.
And Tukey, a first appearance as a full-time driver, he also tries to slot himself into P14. He's got a 10-second penalty, so he's got to try and make up as many positions as he can. And Hayden was probably hoping that he's going to have a battle on his hands, but don't you worry, Hayden. There'll probably be another driver trying to get your position as well, maybe try and close in as well. Meanwhile, the Tifosi is cheering on for their home hero. Emphatic makes his way past Watts in towards the first Lesmo with confidence, and he is on a mission to try and close up on Kareem. Emphatic is on fire. Faster compared to Kareem 70. He's about a 10th or 2 faster. He is loving life right now. I think we wouldn't have thought, Tom, at the beginning of this, that Emphatic would be the one challenging for podium positions before, but he seems to like this track. He seems to adapt to different tracks quite quickly on this game as well, and it's definitely helping him. But what a move from Emphatic past Watts.
100% oozing confidence is Fabio. Now he's got a wounded Red Bull Racing car very much in his sights. Grid Joke's just struggling with a boatload of understeer through the curve. Alboreto almost falls off the circuit, just about keeping it between the white lines, but that's going to end his assault of potentially trying to get back past Lolinova. But Meraki, the Season 4 champion, had a terrible first lap, dropped down into P12, has been stuck ever since, but putting a move on map 2 on 2 down to the braking zone of turns 1 and 2, the Rettifilo chicane, and returning to the top 10 for the first time since that opening lap, after starting in P6, just caught up in a bit of a bump and rub between himself, Gwatz, and Dat Gavin, who is another driver that has just struggled to recover from that first lap instance, still down in P12. Mired in the midfield. The gap has stabilised, though, between P3 and P4. Razin Chai was definitely smart for him to get back past Kareem 17, that gap dropping. It was 4 seconds at one point, now down into the low 3s, 3.2, 3.3. It's been hovering around. And equidistant also between Formula Kai and Alex Gillen.
Yeah, Formula Kai and Alex Gillen, I think they can't stop closing in on each other throughout the majority of the race. And the thing that they're getting annoyed about is that they can't get past GB, which makes the dirty air, I think, more more annoying, I think, around this track than expected. And we can see it becomes apparent that you want to be the one that's leading rather than one that's in P2 or P3, or maybe just wait for the prime opportunity, saving your battery, which is probably what these two are doing. But Formula Kai, I think, has burned a bit of battery to try and even close in on GB68 in towards turn number 1. But Kai is just being very, very patient. So is Alex Gillen at the moment. You want to stay within DRS, because otherwise you couldn't be in a spot bother. That's why Razin Chai has lost a bit of time, because he had no DRS, and the top 3 were just fast and on fire. We thought going into this one that Razin Chai will be the one challenging for the win, but no, he's in P4. We do have a pit stop from Scott Taylor. He comes into the pits. He's decided enough's enough. He hated that damage, and he's going off of those soft tyres, which were pretty much old anyway. I won't be surprised if Hayden does exactly the same thing in a lap's time, and he's going to go on to a fresh set of tyres, which I believe, Tom, is the hards.
Yes, and getting that front wing changed, it's going to be a long stop. Also, long day for Gwatz, because he picked up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting, I believe, going over the Della Roggia chicane. He was battling away with Lolinova, first through the Rettifilo chicane to start the lap, and then through Curva Grande, holding off the assault from last week's race winner and dropping him out of DRS as well. But Watts, yeah, that's an early 3-second penalty to get. He's just got to be careful now that that doesn't start to snowball, especially since he's dropped out of the DRS of the trio in front of him, which can mean he might push just that little bit harder to get the time back, and then you are prone to making a few more mistakes. Gridjoke's looking strong on those hard tyres, still keeping himself very much in the fray. Fabio, though, is the driver that I'm keeping my eye on, I have to say. He's been probably the most frequent pulling out of the slipstream, trying to keep that car as cool as possible. His engine temperatures in particular, I would imagine, are going to be significantly lower than some of the drivers around him. That's going to set him up really nicely for the end of this stint in particular. He can potentially try and pull some late moves as we go towards the first pit stops window of the Grand Prix, whether that's to get past Green 17 or maybe even Razin Chai as well.
I'm starting to see a few drivers lifting and coasting already, so I wonder if a few drivers have underfueled the car, hoping there would be a safety car. GB being one of those drivers. I've been told by our lovely host that lifting and coasting, he's already into corners, he's lifting and coasting already, so that's giving good news for the likes of Formula Car and Gillen, who may be pushing a little bit more, but I'm liking these gambles that people are playing right now. There's some people that think that they could be safety cars, which, if you've seen a Creator Series Monza race, there are loads of them, so it's right to make that gamble. But if there's no safety cars, GB could be in a spot of bother here.
100%. Just looking at the telemetry we've got, and there are a couple of drivers. We saw Gwatz pick up that 3-second penalty for corner cutting. There are other drivers that are flirting with it already as well. Now, a couple of them could be down to collisions, but Razin Chai and Kareem both with 2 warnings already in this race. Lodenober and Gridjokes, along with Datka Vince, also have 2 warnings. One of them for Vince, and Kareem might be for a collision, but still, that's early to be picking up a decent chunk of warnings. I think Watts is very close to picking up a second 3-second penalty for corner cutting. So like I said, just got to make sure things don't spiral and snowball for the driver that's running in a good spot. I say that though because he's just lost 7th position to Lodenober down into turn number 1. It looked very, very easy from that shot as the RB files past the senior team. The Red Bull Racing car dropping down into P8, and that guy Vince has pulled the trigger early. He was mired in the midfield, just stuck, unable to make any progress in the DRS train, and this could be the start of a bit of a flurry of pit stops.
He definitely did the right thing there because he was in quite a bit of traffic. He wanted some clear air, and we know in F125 the undercut is a lot powerful, especially around here. So I think with Vince pulling the trigger now, that's gonna definitely give the midfield something to worry about here, and he's got to pull the gap as much as he can. He's onto the hard tyres now, and I've had experience on the hards on this game around Monza, and it's much better than F124, so he's going to try and stretch those for a little bit longer, praying there could be a potential. It might have been a bit too early for a 1 stop, but I think that might strongly suggest there could be a 2 stop. We don't know, but it depends on what tyre options they have to their disposal. Gridjoke, so he's the one on the hards now, so Gridjoke's probably sent in the benchmark for the ones who are opting to go for the hards a little bit later on. He's been on those tyres for 13 laps, and he's chasing down the likes of Gwatz and Lodenober in a rate of knots. So does that mean that the means are starting to go already at this early stage? For some drivers, they hope not, but Kareem is definitely managing those memes a lot better than Razin Chai right now, as he's got past him up into 4th place. But in terms of Gridjokes, I would keep my eye on him for the rest of the race because he's on the best tyres out of everybody else who's on mediums.
100%. And if he can work his way through to the front of what is that third DRS train, Lodenober and Gwatz leading it, he can try and break away, maybe drag them back towards the likes of Kareem Razin and Infratic. Fabio actually picked up a warning on the previous lap. That was his first of the Grand Prix. Just got to be careful now that you don't go to 2 warnings and just leave yourself on tenterhooks to make sure you don't pick up that 3-second penalty. But yeah, Gridjoke's sitting pretty, you would imagine, if he can get ahead of Gwatz, which he was pretty close to doing on the previous lap down into turns 1 and 2. Couldn't quite force the Mercedes far enough up the inside to really put Gwatz out of tune and just make him think a little bit about where he places the car and trying to defend rather than focus on the RB that lies in front of him. Just making himself, or giving himself, an opportunity to be flexible later on in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would definitely want to be more flexible with the tyres they've got, because of course you've got to use at least one different tyre compound, and I wonder which options a lot of these drivers will definitely choose. But I think for quite a few of these drivers, they're not going to be pushing right away. They're going to be pushing right up and later on to the end of this Grand Prix. But Razin Chai and Kareem, they're just keeping switcherooing like their life depends on it right now. But I think what these two are doing is they're working quite nicely together to stay within the DRS. But all this is doing is allowing Infratic to be in this battle as well. And he probably wouldn't have dreamed this after Hungary. He didn't have the best of qualifying sessions, but He is now in P6, where he wants to be, where he should be, still have a good chance to potentially get 4th place. But how Razin and Kareem are switching, this is allowing Emphatic to really close in. And speaking of Aston Martin, we saw Aston Martin at the front. We're seeing Aston Martin just in the brink of the point. He's past Adam Sanderson. He's got the final points for now.
Yeah, Dakar Vince is looking strong at the moment on those brand new hard tyres. 22.6 on the previous lap, 7/10 of a second faster than the leading trio, a second and a half faster than Razin Chai and Infratic in 4th and 6th respectively. Green was a little bit quicker courtesy of getting some DRS on the previous turn. So making his move here, Dakar Vince, to try and get himself some better track position, to try and get himself back comfortably inside the top 10 and maybe even further forward. Tukey, the second driver, to pick up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting the Williams, as Hayden Gullis was earlier, in a little bit of no man's land, and also has that 10-second penalty from the first lap after overtaking under yellow flags. He's got 5 seconds to Matt 2-on-2 in front and 3 seconds to Cutter Lucas behind. And then a further 8.5 seconds back to Scotty Designs, by the way, who's just nestled inside the points in P14. And the gap between 3rd and 4th, that continues to extend as well. Razin goes from having one really good lap, and then he has a little bit of a dodgy one holding P4. He's just matched the leaders. He's actually a little bit quicker than the leaders on that previous lap, but the gap nearly up at 5 seconds. And that gives the likes of GB Formula Kai and Alex Gillen themselves a bit of flexibility on their strategies. Alex gets a little bit out of shape going through the rest of the chicane. Meraki is very close to the back of Grid Jokes, but doesn't think about a lunge down into turn number 4, but starting to make his move as well, the Season 4 champion. When you would be expecting Grid Jokes on the hards, be feeling a little bit more comfortable.
I think maybe in a few laps' time, potentially. But again, we do not know what the strategy is compared to some of our creators at the moment. But I think Grid Jokes will probably be looking to extend, probably just wait just a few more laps because they know they're going to pit. But if they're not going to pit yet, then maybe do go for the move, because you don't want to get held up too quickly. But you're gonna lose more time to the guys behind you who are going to try and go for the moves as well. So a tough call, I would think, for Grid Jokes. But if I was in right now, I would just be patient, wait until the time comes, wait until where the tyres are definitely going to come to him, which I think is around about now, to be honest, as well. But one driver that's definitely coming to him pace wide is Alex Gillen, as Formula Kai defends to the inside and says, nope, you're not having my position, sunshine. And Alex Gillen stayed in 3rd, Formula Kai in 2nd. There's some clean racing between our top 3, and also some good racing between the likes of a certain Hayden Gullis, who's got a battle on his hands. He was complaining he was in no man's land earlier. He doesn't have to complain now. He's fighting against Adam Sanderson, Devon Butler, as he tried to get the slipstream on Adam Sanderson, side by side in towards the start-finish straight. Who's going to get the jump? It is going to be Hayden Gullis for now, but can Adam Sanderson get the lunge into turn 1? He's going to fight back, but Hayden Gullis says no. Hayden Gullis is through, up at the 60s, 1 place shy of the points.
Has already pitted as well, Hayden, in this race, and is lapping a little bit slower than Dakar Vince on the hard tyres, 4 seconds up the road, but is still lapping faster than the leaders in particular. For Hollywood, Hayden Gullis, as we coined him a few weeks and months ago. Started on the soft tyres, did Hayden, one of only 2 drivers to start on the softs. Himself and Scott Taylor did 12 and 11 laps respectively. And Hayden now on 5-lap-old medium tyres. He tries to chase down the Aston Martin and Co that lie in front of him, and also give himself some good track position courtesy of the undercut shot that he has fired. And speaking of Dakar Vince, he's just disposed of Scotty Designs, by the way, on the run down into Ascari. Alex Gibbs saying, if he had less fuel, I'd be absolutely loving life. Well, if he had much less fuel, sorry, he'd be loving life. So clearly Alex has maybe got a little bit conservative with his fuel strategy and trying to burn it off as much as possible. GB, we're hearing, is doing a lot of lift and coast, which means that maybe he's under-fueled and could just cruise out in front into the braking zones in particular.
Yeah, I think he's doing that for the entirety of his stint. It's not just the last few laps. He's been doing it for the majority of the laps. And he's at 0 plus 0.2, so he's just on the bubble of running out of fuel. So yeah, there's going to be a spot of bother. He needs a safety car to come around about now so he can save. More pit stops. Lucas is on the hard compound of tyres, so he's another one who has pitted as well. He's going to drop way down the field, but at least he's got one of his stops done. Dusted, another driver that is looking to take advantage of GB's lifting and coasting is Formula Kai. Let's hope he's not doing the same, and he's got plenty of fuel. He's gained quite a bit of time heading in towards Ascari and is wanting to get past ASAP. But with the dirty air, GB's not the only one that's hoping for a safety car. Kareem saying he hates relying on them, but we need a safety car. When's the first time we heard that? I think many drivers are hoping for the same thing. I'm surprised someone we have not had a safety car, because every Creator Series race we've had around here, we've had at least one.
Absolutely. And don't count chickens just yet, because there are still over 30 laps of the Italian Grand Prix to go. Ricciardo 3 with a corner cutting penalty. Formula Kai gets close down into the Rettifilo chicane, but not close enough to put GB under any severe pressure. We've seen this a couple of times from guys. Got really close into the first chicane, but through the run through Curva Grande and then down into the Della Roggia chicane, hasn't quite been as close and been able to put GB, like you said before, under any real pressure and make any real impression up to the rear of the Aston Martin car. And at the moment, it's actually Alex Gillen who is closer to Formula Kai than Kai is to GB, although they are fairly equidistant. And in fact, swapping back over, thank you for that, lads, as Alex Gillen drops to half a second further back, just flip-flopping a little bit, but working together nicely, because that gap to Razin Chai has just extended to 5 seconds. He puts himself in a great place, if, of course, we don't see a safety car in the near future. Dak Gavins, by the way, still tracking very, very nicely in P13. Watch out for him, because he could be jumping a number of drivers with this monumental undercut.
Yeah, I mean, undercuts could be very powerful around here, but there may be certain people that hopefully would have not won the safety car because they literally just pitted and they were going to probably lose a bit more time. And I'm just looking at GB's pace at the moment. Even though he's trying to save, he's still burning quite a bit of fuel, so it's not helping him at all. So unlike in F124, you could be gaining. I think he's losing a bit of fuel, so maybe short shifting will be the way to go for GB. We don't know, but he's the one that calls the strategy. He has won here before, and he's probably going to say, "Shut up! I know what I'm doing." And we know that Formula Kai is catching up with a rate of knots. Meraki is going into the pit lane, but I think Formula Kai is going to look for the lunge around about now, but he's not going to do it. But another driver that's been looking quite close on the back of Grid Jokes is Gwatz on a set of the mediums, even though he's a little bit older compared to everybody else's. He's loving life at the moment. Grid Jokes has dropped a little bit back to Lolinoba, so I think that surely suggests that the mediums have had a bit of a second life for the likes of the Lolinoba and Emphatic.
I think it's maybe just a little more of the fact that they were just pushed away while they were battling down to turn number 1. Grid Jokes trying to ensure that he got the overtake done to keep himself the track position over the Red Bull, who should, you would imagine, end up heading down pit road any time now in the next 4 or 5 laps you'd expect, with Meraki also pulling the trigger there. He's found himself 8 seconds, I think, behind Dak Gavins. That just shows you how powerful the undercut that the Aston Martin driver has thrown is, and Meraki even finding himself nearly 3 seconds off the back of Hayden Gullis. So that's working out very, very nicely for them. Twin penalties picked up through Ascari. Gridjoke's going off the circuit, picks one up, and then Gwatz following in his footsteps, picking up his second of the race. That extends it to 6 seconds worth of time penalties. A couple of drivers still hovering with it. Kareem and Razin both still sat on 2 warnings. Lolinoba has 2 warnings, as does Matt 2-on-2 in P10. I think when we get to the end of this race, there might be a flurry of corner cutting penalties that we see. Alex Gillen and Formula Kai once again converging on each other with GB just in front. We're still happy to retain the formation.
Yeah, it seems to me the top 3 are not budging right now, and I don't think they're going to be budging for a very long time. They're just going to wait for an opportunity moment to go for it. And if we get a safety car brewing, then maybe they're probably going to go for me. More penalties. Scott Taylor has just got one as well. Tugi's got the most penalties on 13 right now as well. Don't forget he's got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I think more mistakes could be starting to creep in as the tyres start to give up the ghost, because most people have been on those mediums for quite a bit longer in this race than expected. So I would suggest that a lot of these drivers will be doing the one-stop strategy, which is probably the first time on F125. So I think we would see Grid Jokes pit, I think, halfway into this race in about 5-6 laps time to go into the mediums. For certain drivers that could be more smooth on the driving, they would probably want to wait just a little bit longer. But almost halfway into this race, anything can happen, of course, but the top 3 just doesn't seem to be budging. But GB is finding a little bit of life again with his pace, and we thought he was going to come in, but he does the dummy cheeky thing.
Dummy thrown. Alex Gillen's very close to the back of Kai here. He's starting to think, going to get a bit of a shift on as Razin Chai and Kareem pull into the pits. Look at how early Alex Gillen lifted off the throttle on the run down into turn number 1. If you want a definition of lift and coasting, that was it. He was about 200 metres away from having to actually put his foot on the brake and that is saving a lot of fuel and keeping the temperatures down as well. We're going to see where Razin Chai, Infratic and Kareem 17 come out in relation to Dak Gavins. There goes the Aston Martin off into the distance, so the undercut has worked out for him, giving himself some lovely track position, does the second Aston Martin in this race. And he's got quite a decent bit of track position, in fact, over the guys that were running in 4th, 5th and 6th. Meraki gets one over on Scotty Designs, by the way, taking 13th place off his hands. He tries to encroach into the lead that Hayden Gullis built up over him with his undercut onto the mediums, although they will be slightly past their best. 10 laps he's done on those yellow stroke tyres, and most definitely will need to stop again in this race.
Yes, I think there's plenty of drivers that will need to stop again. In particular, Hayden, I agree, because I don't think those meetings are going to last until the end of this one. But maybe Hayden would probably want to do something better, and maybe want to do something a little bit ambitious potentially as we head towards the second half of this race. And GB, I think it's tricked one driver, because Alex Gillen is in, or maybe Alex Gillen was wanted to come in. So Alex is the first of our leaders to pull the trigger, come into the pit and slot himself onto a set of the hard compound of tyres. So here he comes then. Is this going to work for Mr. Gillen, or is it going to work for GB and Formula Kai? We'll have to find out. I won't be surprised if that guy Vince tries and close in on these guys very soon, and we'll see if the undercut works for him. He's gained quite a bit more time, and he's going to... That's a massive undercut. That guy Vince is your net race leader, and that's probably going to be worrying for Formula Kai. GB not so much, because of course GB and that guy Vince are teammates.
And this would have filtered back to Alex Gillen as well, the fact that the undercut is looking very, very strong. Dak Gavins made up about 10 seconds with this undercut. He has got 10 laps on those hard compound tyres that he has to deal with though. But if he can stay in the ballpark with Alex Gillen and then with GB and Formula Kai when they come out of the pits, Dak Gavins is going to be in an incredible spot, but can he go to the end? That's the other question. Will Dak Gavins have to pit again, strap on another set of the medium tyres, and have a real bonsai effort in the closing stages of this race? Kareem 70, I don't believe, fixed his front wing. That's why he's still close to the back of Razin and Infratic. Here comes Alex Gillen, DRS flap open, and he's going to blast past the Aston Martin of Dak Gavins, who doesn't fight it too hard. Now the interesting thing is going to be, can Vince stay glued to the rear of that Papaya McLaren car as he picks up a 3-second penalty? As I say that, nice bit of commentary curse there. Sorry about that guy Vince. But GB and Formula Kai, 1 lap after Gillen, are into the pits. Will Gillen be the net race leader? I'd be surprised if he's not.
We'll have to wait and see, of course. Alex Gillen is a man on a mission. He's got some clearer air now, which will help him a little bit. And those hards are now starting to get up to temperatures. So for Alex Gillen, that's a comfortable overcut potentially. Alex Gillen has got the undercut on both of them. So Alex Gillen is your net race leader of the race. And I did say the undercut was going to be powerful. Well, Alex Gillen believed me, and he's showing it right now. He is your net race leader in this race. He's got no penalties to his name as well, so he's in a very comfortable position. He's got to hope that there's no problem that faces him right now. He's on only one warning as well, so he's just keeping it relatively clean out there, which is always very lovely to see.
I tell you what, Razin Chai is absolutely motoring as well. He's been sending fastest laps, although Meraki and then Lolinoba took it off him on the previous turn. He was about half a second quicker, no, 7/10 of a second quicker than Gillen on the previous lap. Bearing in mind that Alex Gillen had some DRS as well as he passed that guy Vince. So the pace being shown and the legs starting to be stretched by Razin Chai. That gap before the pit stops were made was 5 seconds. It's over half of that now, or just under half of it, sorry. 2 seconds the gap between Kai and Razin Chai. And he's bringing in Fratic, and he's just about bringing Kareem 70 along with him, although Kareem's still dampened, his spirits dampened by that front wing damage he picked up in the early stages of the Italian Grand Prix, just trying his best to cling onto the coattails of the duo in front of him. Lolinoba and Meraki have been very speedy as well. Meraki finally dealing with Hayden Gullis and putting him in his wake, and both of those two tracking nicely as well. We could have a lot of drivers converging on each other if the traffic becomes a problem, and somewhat unsurprisingly, the two Aston Martin teammates working together nicely. Dak Gavins rolling out the red carpet for GB, who now takes over net second.
Yeah, I think very smart from Dak Gavins, because of course his tyres are a lot older than GB, and of course GB is in the championship fight with Alex Gillen, and this is where we really get to see the two championship protagonists fight and gain points on their nearest rivals, because these two have got the most to gain on this situation as well, whereas everybody else is behind them. So I'm excited to see what they could do here with GB trying to save a bit of fuel, and Alex We don't know if he was lifting and coasting. Maybe he's got to try and do the same. So it's pretty much an even playing field between these two with a similar amount of tyre life. But we're going to keep a close eye on GB because he's got the newer tyres. But we're seeing some more moves almost being made into Ascari. Formula Kai is throwing that guy Vince, and he's now 1.2 seconds behind GB. So Vince has done a lot of work there to try and bridge the gap there. But Formula Kai, we know how much he's quicker in the corners. He's got to try and make the moves into Parabolica, for example, to close in a little bit. We've got more people trying to do their best to make sure those tyres last, but we've got Tuki and Great Jokes in the lead of this race. Alex Gillen doing its best to try and get past. I don't think Tuki's going to challenge this one. Nope, he is not, as Alex Gillen is through into second place.
With GB hampered by this, stuck behind the Williams, is going to realistically have to get past as we go through the Curva Grande, because he needs to keep in touch with Alex Gillen, who now sits in front of the Williams, burning a little bit of ERS and then holding off because Tuki, I think, is burning a bit of battery to try and stay ahead of the Aston Martin. And that is exactly what the Williams has done. So first and second in the championship, spanner thrown in the works though for GB, who taps the back of the Williams, who's slow through the Della Roggia chicane. That allows Formula Kai just to cruise back up to the scene as well. He was over a second behind this pair, now under a second, nearly under half a second as we go through the two Lesmos. GB is going to be desperate to get past what is seemingly a very, very slippery Williams in a straight line. More battery being burnt by the Williams to try and keep the Aston Martin at bay. I think there's going to be steam coming from the ears of the driver second in the championship, trying to hunt down his first, because this could be ruining his race.
Yeah, that is absolutely frustrating as well. Let's just hope he does not have that damage, because see, 1.4 seconds, so I think he's lost a bit of ground, and even the slightest bit of damage around Monza is enough to ruin people's races, because the amount of straight line speed that you want to be gaining around this circuit. So Alex Gillen probably loving life right now, but I think one driver that also loving life is Formula Kai, as he try and close it in on Tuki, which he does. Tuki's get the place back. Oh my goodness, and a bit of contact there, and we can try and see Formula Kai trying to go around the outside. But contact again. They're losing time because of this. Then they can't fight like this. Yes, Tuki has the right to fight like this, but GB just had to get the move done. Look at this, Formula Kai trying to get past GB68 on the run towards turn 4. Can't quite do it, couldn't capitalise. And all this is doing is allowing Alex Gillen to stretch the gap even more.
Well, this was not in the plan. GB's going to be sacking the scriptwriter after what he's just seen, almost being pocket pinched by Kai as well, going through Curva Grande, but the Haas was opting just to sit in behind and wait and hold on to that position. Tuki driving with razor blades on his elbows. He's holding on to every single position in this race, as Dak Gavins is next on the hit list to try and relegate the Williams further down. Will he try a late braking move down into Ascari? Can be very tight on the apex. Razin Chai with a 3-second penalty for running off the circuit, and for good measure taps the back of Tuki, who's still struggling for grip going through Ascari. And the Williams does now pull over to one side, but look at this, is Infratic arriving on the scene. Razin Chai, I think, is just about going to hold on to the track position down into the Parabolica, but this race has been turned on its head. Alex Gillen afforded the opportunity to scamper off into the distance, helped along by the Williams behind. Infratic, I think, is smelling blood here. Dakovic is going to be a sitting duck, you would imagine. First, Razin Chai is going to file past. The Ferrari, you would imagine, follows in the footsteps of the Season 5 champion. He's not that close, but surely he's going to send it up the inside into turn number 1. Just hovers underneath the rear wing of the Aston Martin, but elects to stay behind for the time being at least.
Wow, I mean, there's a lot of fighting going on at this stage of the race than at the start, because they were a bit more conservative at the start, but now they're definitely pushing us. They want to climb as many positions as they can. We know Emphatic, he's here to have some fun, but he wants to try and gain some more points that he can in the championship, and he wants to do the home fans proud in a Tifosi, and Emphatic is definitely doing that as well. He's got to be a bit wary of his warnings though, make sure he doesn't pick up anymore, because otherwise he could slot himself and get a penalty, and we do not like penalties in the Creator Series. So I think all Emphatic is going to do now is keep his head held high. He's already on the back of that guy Vince, because that guy Vince's tyres are starting to give up the ghost, because he's been on those tyres for 15 laps, Emphatic 6 laps. Emphatic will be in a very good position to get him in the start-finish straight. Don't get him yet, because otherwise that guy Vince is going to get DRS. Just wait for the perfect opportunity, which he's going to try and do now. Luckily, Alex is closing up the gap a little bit more to Grid Joke, and hopefully Alex won't have a problem to try and get past him at the start-finish straight. But let's watch Emphatic then very soon as he tries to close in, as Formula Kai does get past GB up into P3, and we can see Alex gets past Grid Jokes up into the lead of this race. So Alex Gillen making moves, Formula Car making moves, so GB definitely must have some sort of damage on that car.
I don't think he's got damage. I think it's just Kai was very close coming out of Parabolica, said, well, I'll help myself, thank you very much, and take that net second place away from GB. They're 3 seconds, though, 3.5 seconds, in fact, off the back of Alex Gillen, whose Christmases have come right at the start of August, it seems, in the Italian Grand Prix with 24 laps to go. He leads this race by some margin as well. And just going to emphatic as well, I wonder if he maybe just missed a trick there. He was a little bit tentative and a little bit passive in getting past Datka Vince. But what that meant is Razin Chai was able to go with Kai and GB in front. And Fabio now finds himself 2.3 seconds off the back of what is effectively the fight for second place in this race.
Second place rather than first. They probably would have wanted to go for first place in this race, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But it's not over. We've still got about 23 laps of this race and still plenty of stories to be told. There could be some moments that the drivers would not expect. We could see some safety cars. We could see some people making mistakes that we don't expect. We could see fuel issues as well at this point of the race. Anything could happen. So if I was GB, do not give up. If I was Kai, do not give up, because we could see GB fighting just like that yet again. They've got to be working together to try and close in the gap on the Grid Jokes and Alex Gillen, because that could be their golden opportunity to try and close in on the winning game. Because don't forget, GB is hunting for his first ever title in the Creator Series, and definitely he's got a long way to go for now. But GB and Formula Kai have got to work together at this point. That's what I would do.
100%. They managed to stem the flow. GB getting back past Kai down into the Retifilia chicane. Lolonob, we can see they're just starting to cruise up to the back of this little trio. They were tussling over 6, 7 and 8. Datka getting back past Infratic, and that means the Ferrari, who was basically following Razin through the first 25 laps of this Grand Prix, is now 4 seconds off the back of the Alpine. Considering he's got a 3-second penalty, Razin Chai. That is not good news for the Ferrari driver that at one stage was looking like one of the favourites to potentially challenge for a podium place. He's going to use the DRS to dart back in front of Datka Vince on the rundown into a Ascari corner and take 6th place back. There might have to be some teamwork going on, but he's got Vince on old tyres that he can't really work with, and he's got Formula Cream or Cream 17 with front wing damage that he can't necessarily work with either. So Fabio's left himself in a little bit of a sticky situation here. Not necessarily got a chariot that he can work along with and try and drag themselves back towards that leading group. Grid Jokes has picked up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits. That is not good news considering how good that race was going. But it releases GB, Kai and Razin Chai to try and chase after Alex Gillen.
Game on. We're seeing more drivers coming into the pits now. We're seeing more drivers trying to close in. It's going to be exciting. Make sure you watch it. It's going to be epic. And Grid Jokes is going to try and get some points. Kareem 70 has got past that guy Vince for 6th place. He is probably a bit guy that he can't climb any more positions of this race so far, but he's within the fight for P5 or even the podium of this race. So it's not over yet for Kareem 17. Ferrari versus Red Bull. Emphatic looking really good on pace. I wonder if he can close up to Razin Chai in this race as well. But we know that these tyres are not going to last forever. We've got about 12 laps before the hards start to die down a little bit. So we could see some 2-stop in particular for that guy Vince closing up very, very soon as well. But with Formula Kai, if I was him, he just intentionally staying a little bit back to cool his engine temperatures, because you do not want to have hot temperatures on the back of another car, especially on F125. And don't forget, it's not that long before an intentional safety car period ends. At the end of lap 39, no one could cause any intentional safety cars from that point. There might be people making mistakes, but any intentional safety cars can't be caused after that point.
Don't discount GB68 here. He was 6 tenths per second faster than Alex Gillen on the previous lap, taking a gap from 3.7 down to what it is now at 3.1, 3.0. So there could still be a hunt on in the remaining 20 laps of the Italian Grand Prix, and Formula Kai and Razin Chai will both be hoping that GB has got this kind of pace and can keep this kind of pace up, because that will in turn drag them up to the back of the runaway leader in the Papaya McLaren of Alex Gillen and give us a real race come the end of the 53-lap Grand Prix. And Fratic has dropped the group behind. Cream 17 has dropped back behind Datka Vince and Lolonob as well, who's come on really strongly in this second stint, was in the lower side of the top 10, now finds himself in P6. And crucially ahead of Cream 17, who he is racing. They are in the same race, the RB and the Red Bull Racing car. And that damage that Cream picked up early on, you think that's going to prove costly? And could this be the reigning champions' chances of picking up back-to-back titles just starting to slip away after a disappointing race a week ago in Spa? It looks like it's going to be another slightly underwhelming one in Monza.
Yeah, but it looks like it, doesn't it? You would hope that being on realistic performance, you would hope it's just a realistic performance issue, but for this one, they would have hoped, oh, it would have been game on, equal cars, everyone's on the same playing field, but no. It's like I was saying earlier, it comes down to adaptability, and the ones that are adapting well are the ones near the fronticles, and the ones that are the dark horses, in fact, are adapting quite well as well. The home favourite, Lolinova, doing quite well in 6th position. He's managing his tyres quite effectively as well, and I'm sure quite a lot of people will be cheering him on in the chat, and he's chasing down obviously the Tifosi of Emphatic, so this is going to be a very intense battle to say the least as well, but I can't wait to see what happens next throughout the remainder of this race. Not a long to go, and Ricky is in the pit lane.
But the Italian stallion, Lolinova, he really looks like, well, he's got his mojo back at this moment.
Yes.
I think that victory that he picked up last week has been quite the confidence booster, it has to be said. And Lolly just returning to the form, signs of the form that we were seeing on F1 24. He was very commonly battling inside the top 5, more often than not in the fight to finish on the podium. And he's charging after Infratic in front. 6.4 seconds the gap between Razin and Infratic now. Doesn't quite look like Fabio's got the pace to hang or just to stem the increasing of the gap between himself and Razin due to the pace that GB and Formula Kai have got in front, and they're just dragging Razin even further away from the Ferrari car. Razin, as he brought up 100 Create Series appearances, hoping that his performance tonight will be worthy of a Centurion, as Formula Kai with the fastest lap of the race, but he continues to trade blows with GB, who takes second place back as they look to try and close the gap to Gillen in front. And Razin Chai just got to be careful because he did drop a little bit further back. He was briefly 1 second as Lolinova gets ahead of Infratic. Razin's just got to make sure he doesn't drop out of that DRS range, because if he struggles for pace in the closing stages, he could get pulled back towards this fight between Lolly and Fabio.
I think what Lolly is doing at the moment is something spectacular. He is brave to make these moves that you would not expect. He's done double overtakes like a madman today. He wants to get the job done, and he's definitely doing it. And you can tell it's a track that he gets on well with. There's always tracks in the F1 calendar that you like, no matter how you come to it and how much time you practice on it, you absolutely love it, and you do well regardless. I think that's what Lolinova is definitely doing right now as well. So I think for Lolinova, he's just having fun out there, and hopefully he's good. I think that confidence in Belgium has definitely solidified his pace, I would say, in the top 5 in the Creative Series. I think Belgium has just given him that sense of, I could do this more often. Don't forget, he's done well in F2 in the past. And I think F1 25 for Lolinova seems to be a bit more of his game right now. It's one driver that's having a bit of fun right now. Someone that's making his full-time debut in the Creative Series is Map212, trying to get past Watts. He just missed out on Q3 earlier on, but he has got some penalties to his name, probably wanting him to climb a little bit further, but he only got 1 point last week. He's definitely in a much better position than last week. He's gaining experience. He's starting to gauge which drivers are around about more of his pace and which drivers that he could try and get past easy. But even if he could try and get past easy, they're not gonna make it look easy. They're gonna fight for it right now.
We just saw Chappers in the back of shot falling off the circuit, going through the Ascari corner and falling further away from Riccio too. But the Williams does have a penalty looming over their head, which means that the Kicksauber could be brought back into contention. Here is Meraki. Meraki, the Season 4 champion, charging up towards the rear of Kareem 70, who is still struggling with that front wing damage to the point where he's dropped out of the DRS of that guy Vince in front, who's managed just about to stick with Lolinova and Infratic, who continue to tussle for P5 and P6 in this race. And this is a huge opportunity for Jake to try and make some inroads late into this Grand Prix. There's still an opportunity for the Ferrari driver to finish in P5 if he gets his skates on. And the first man to hit this will be the reigning champion. And I wonder how much Kareem will fight this down into the first chicane.
I think we know Kareem doesn't want to lose out on as many points as he can, because he knows his rivals are at the front. So the more places he loses, the more it's going to detriment his chances of the championship. But we know Meraki is a champion himself. He never wants to give up without a fight. He wants to try and climb up as many places as he can too. So I think the interesting thing is the ERS. How much are they using at this point in the race? Because we do not have that long to go until the end. Are they saving a bit at this point, or are they going to be using it at points like this? Because we know Meraki can close in. On F1 24, he can close in and go for the move fine. But the dirty air seems to be playing a factor once again. That's why Meraki's not getting past just yet, and that's not all helping him a little bit. I'm seeing Meraki's ERS, by the way, and he's doing absolutely fine. So he's managing his ERS perfectly. I think Kareem is definitely at the same time. An update, a GB fuel update. He's level on fuel, but if there isn't a safety car, there's going to be trouble for him. And I wonder, Tom, if there's many drivers that are having the same issues as GB.
100%. Just struggling to save the fuel because, of course, we're at full throttle for a very high percentage of the lap here at Monza. The Temple of Speed, as it is famously known. And you are going to have to do some lift and coasting. We saw Alex Gidden doing a lot of lifting and coasting before the first round of stops came into fruition. Infratic was another driver that was getting out of the slipstream, trying to cool the car, trying to do some lift and coasting as well. I think this could be the moment that Green 17 falls back a further spot as the Scarlet Ferrari looms large in the mirrors of the reigning champion. Red light flashing, which means he is not going to fight this one bit, and around the outside doesn't even need the braking zone of the first chicane. And that is Meraki up into P8. He was outside the top 10 after coming together with the sister Red Bull of Guats in the opening couple of corners. Datka Vince was caught up in that as well, but the Aston Martin and Ferrari have recovered very, very nicely. Meraki down to some great pace, Vince down to some great strategy.
Meraki, I think, seems to have the right fuel in his car because he's even closing in on that guy Vince as well. Meraki, I think he was just a bit patient in the first few stints. Now he's on the final stint, and he's just coming alive as well. So maybe he just got the perfect amount of fuel. Other drivers maybe just saving a bit, whereas Meraki could afford to push. Or maybe he has the right tyre life in order to do it. And, you know, Meraki is hoping he doesn't want a safety car right now because he's one warning away of a penalty. The only one that's got no warnings, GB68, the only driver out of the top 10 that has got no warnings so far to his name. Kai and Alex going to keep it relatively keen. It's not got any warnings since they got that, but I think GB's going to hope that other drivers make a mistake. But at this stage, everyone's going to hope and pray for a safety car because how have we not had a safety car, Tom, around Monza, for goodness sake?
Well, you say everybody
by now.
You say everybody would be praying for a safety car. There's one man that definitely isn't, and that's the man that's been bulletproof ever since getting into the lead of this Grand Prix. The championship leader won 3 races right at the start. He won round 1, he won round 2, he won round 3. He's only picked up a couple of podiums ever since then, but has continued to rack up the points. And if this continues as it is, he'll be in a fantastic position with 3 races to go. I think he is going to be missing a Grand Prix, so this will give Gillen the confidence, A, because the pace has been strong, but B, he'll have a nice buffer over the likes of GB, the likes of Razin Chai, and even greater over Kareem 17, who's still down in P9 at the moment. That's probably the lowest position he's going to finish unless we do see a safety car, which probably wipes the Red Bull Racing driver out of contention.
Yeah, that'll be unfortunate, and that could mean good news for your Alex Gillen because that means you're extending your championship lead a lot more. And Tom, I think you better shut up because as soon as you talk about Kareem, he gets a penalty.
I mean, he was hovering on 2 warnings, for I think he's been on that for about 30 laps in this Grand Prix. So eventually, when you've got front wing damage as well, it is going to happen. You are just going to make the smallest of errors and lose that time. Still trailing blows GB and Formula Kai, but Alex Gillen's pace out in front is absolutely outstanding. He's consistently now half a second a lap faster than that trio if you include Razin Chai. It's looking very, very rosy if you're driving that McLaren McLaren car. Datka Vince making his way down pit road for the second and final time. You would imagine this Grand Prix is going to be a short dash to the end on a brand new set of medium tyres coming in from P7. Where will he end up in this race? He's going to have the freshest tyres by an absolute mile, and it could be an overtaking masterclass from Vince as he looks to get back up inside the top 10.
Yes, I think he's one of the only drivers that are probably doing the 2 stop, but I know Hayden will probably pit as well for one more stop too, so I wonder if they're going to try and close in a little bit more. But again, if we get a safety car, that might help him just a tiny bit just to close up a little bit. So you never know what could happen as well. And I mean, I think we know with the likes of that guy Vince, we know how he could claw his way back through the field, and we saw that undercut earlier, didn't we? How he was able just to get that pace that he needed to and gain so many positions, but then after that he was losing time because everyone else was on the fresher rubber. So you got that trade-off sometimes. Would you want the undercut to gain the positions, or would you want the fresher rubber? It does depend on the pace that you really got to show at the moment, but Grid Jokes past Squats up to 10th place, and even before the Parabolica straight, that was very good from Grid Jokes. Those tyres seem to be working well for the Mercedes driver. Of course, he's on 8 lap on mediums, and his rival is on 16 lap on hards.
Yeah, Grid Jokes, of course, started on the hard tyres, took him 31 laps into this Grand Prix, now reaping the rewards of potentially some early pain. Gwatz with a big lift down into turn number 1, trying to save as much fuel as he possibly can. Grid Jokes is looking very, very racy. Map 2-on-2, like he said. Target locked and acquired. I don't think it'll be a move into the Della Roggia chicane unless he burns all of the ERS that he's got stored in that silver arrow. I think it'll just be a wait. The first opportunity you would imagine will be the run down into Ascari, but he can just bide his time because he'll get a lovely dose of DRS this time next lap down the main straight into the Rettifilo, but does get a little bit out of shape coming through the Della Roggia, just pushes him a little bit further back from the Alpine.
Yeah, the Alpine, I think he's probably okay that he's got the gap from Lonnie Noba, but we know with Razin Chai, if there's no safety car, he's going to try and close in, get the move done, get past, Bob's your uncle, and then get a 3 second. We might get a situation where we could have one yellow flag. I think it was just someone, I wonder if it's
Adam Sanderson? Scott Taylor.
Scott Taylor's had enough, and we do know that the intentional safety car period is over, and he's going to try and cut turn 1, isn't he? Yes, he is. He's just having a bit of fun, bless him, and he's trying to break everything on the track right now, bless him. And there's a lot of pull styring, and again, as the game suggests, it clears it up quite quickly. If it was real life, they would have had to bring a safety car out to clear it off.
I wonder how that maybe is how it's happened. Adam Sanderson, you just saw in the bottom of the screen coming into the first Lesmo, has no front wing on that Mercedes car. So I wonder if there's maybe been a bit of a tete-a-tete between the Mercedes and the Sauber of Scott Taylor. They're currently P18 and P20 respectively, so not going to be troubling the score, as you would imagine, come the end of our 53-lap Grand Prix. But yeah, maybe that was an attempt to try and get the safety car called up, or maybe it was just a very strange incident and crashing on a straight.
It was too late if he wanted to do that.
Yes, it's a good point, but I think some drivers, if an intentional safety car was pulled out, I don't think some drivers would be complaining. The one that would complain, though, is Alex Gillen, because that gap is still continuing to expand. 5.4, 5.5 seconds, the gap between himself and the group behind. And now it looks like it's going to be an exclusive battle between Kai and GB for that runners-up spot, with Razin's 3-second penalty, leaving him left wanting a bit more after that mistake early on.
Yeah. I think, of course, Razin Chai was looking like one of the contenders for the win after qualifying, and then bang, we switched to Monza, and it doesn't seem to me that he's gelling to go for the race win, but you never know, things could happen. We could see people near the front making mistakes, so Razin Chai, if I was him, just to have a little box off his seat at the back of this. He's probably in a perfect position to try and close in as well. And Grid Jokes making a great move on map 2-1-2 into P9. We don't know how the penalties are going to affect all of our drivers, but we know Grid Jokes, he's given it his good go, and he's really doing a great job to try and close in on Karim 17.
As is Meraki, pace really strong still for the second Ferrari car. Gap between himself and his teammate now just 1.6 seconds, as he still sees an opportunity to finish inside the top 5 of this Italian Grand Prix with just over 10 laps to go. Alex Gillen still your leader by just under 6 seconds, and then it's still the battle between Kai and GB. They've been joined at the hip for the entirety of this Italian Grand Prix. You imagine there's going to be a titanic tussle between the pair of them in the closing stages for that second spot, and GB realistically needs to finish second in this race. 19 points the gap between himself and Alex Gillen. That will extend down the inside into Parabolica. That's emphatic. Trying to take 5th place off the hands of Lolanoba. It was a late move, and he almost made it stick, and he's afforded himself an opportunity to blast past as they cut the beam. This pair to start lap 44. Lolanoba, though, is having absolutely none of it. Who's got the DRS? Neither of them have the DRS, but it's Lolly who got the slipstream and maybe a bit of battery, and he says, I'll take that place right off your hands once again. It's emphatic driving the Ferrari. Lolly won in the Ferrari last week, and I think they're going to continue this battle with Jake, the Season 4 champion, in hot pursuit of the pair of them.
The Tifosi, they probably don't know what to think right now. We know Emphatic and Meraki are really quick drivers, but we know they won't give up without a fight. We know Emphatic wants to climb up as many positions as he can, but we know what Meraki wants to try and do exactly the same thing. Will they work together, or will they fight for themselves? I don't know at this point, but these two are definitely giving something for us to cheer about in the commentary box. Same with Lonnie Noba as well, having a little bit of a fight. I would like to see the same for the fight for second place. I really do hope that we get that at some point, but that was really, really brave between these two and good, respectful driving between these two.
Yeah, he laid his cars down on the table to some tune, chucked it up the inside of the Parabolica and just trying to maybe spook Lolly into running slightly wide, and Fabio had the red carpet rolled out for the scarlet red Ferrari car. Gap out in front is now 7 seconds as GB is going to take second place back off the hands of Formula Kai. Razin Chai has had a bit of a boring second stint, has to be said, been playing the spectator game, sat behind this pen knowing that he can't really do anything, and fourth place is the best it's going to get unless something happens drastically in front of him, considering the gap behind is 9 seconds between Razin and Lolin Oberon. In fact, not particularly close to the back of the RB when the DRS flaps open. And here is the mysterious incident. What happened between Scott Taylor and Adam Sanderson? Well, he slammed the brakes on, filling the underpants of Adam Sanderson, you would imagine, giving him some major concerns as he piled the brakes on midway down the straight. I think a change of underwear along with a change of front wing as Adam Sanderson made his way down pit road.
Yeah, so that was why there was a lot of brake marker balls missing, as for some drivers, they're probably not very happy with that because they would have liked to have used it as brake marker references, but for some of those brake marker balls, they're pretty much back in existence, which is pretty much a relief, but that could have ended a lot worse for Adam Sanderson. That could have been a DNF, but it wasn't a DNF, and they're still in this race, but I think they could have had so much more if things gone their way, but unfortunately, they're just fighting for pretty much nothing at this stage, but just for a little bit of fun, maybe fastest lap point here and there as well. And I think this is at this point of the race where there's certain drivers fighting for position, but they either have to let the person who's on a lap above you through, or trying to get past traffic. That's going to be the tricky thing. Who's made the right stuff today in trying to deal with this traffic, or trying to deal with the ones that are incredibly faster than you? We have to find out, but those Ferraris are still fighting like there's no tomorrow. It's incredible. And same with the two Red Bulls. It is Red Bull versus Mercedes versus Alpine right now, as Grotz tries to defend off Grid Jokes. He's doing very well. And also we got the likes of Adam and Chappasoy fighting for it. Actually, no, it is Adam and Scott. Never mind. It is so confusing. It's like they've been fighting on for the last few moments of this race, and they're just not giving up, even though Adam's had some damage earlier. Trying to go for the movie towards turn 4, and disaster strikes yet again between the pairing. They're not going to be happy with that.
We meet again, and once again, it is Adam Sanderson who comes off second best in that altercation between Scott and Devon Butler, and I wonder if we're going to see that battle come back for round 3 any time now. I think Alex Gillen must have made a pretty hefty mistake on the previous lap, because GB was 1.6 seconds quicker than the McLaren, but they've now set identical times on lap 46. So, yeah, I think just a little bit of a mistake there from Alex. He has picked up his first warning of the race, so maybe just took a trip over the curbs and onto the runoff area that just lost him a little bit of time. Returning to this battle, though, still getting out of the slipstream is Meraki and is Infratic, trying to cool the car as much as possible for a late race assault on the Italian stallion of Lolanova that sits in front of them. I wonder how the two Ferrari cars are going to play this. Their teamwork has been pretty solid, though, so far this season. They'll be hoping that they can work together to try and finish 6th and 5th in this Grand Prix, as Grid Jokes and Gwatz continue to trade blows in this race. This time it's the Mercedes getting back past the Red Bull, as Matt 212 lurks just behind them still.
Yeah, Matt 212 is having a little bit of fun because he knows that he doesn't have to worry about Gwatz for the time being, as long as he doesn't have Vince try and get past him, because Matt 212 has got less penalties. I don't know how Grid Joke scored 60 seconds worth of penalties, but he's going to drop Ray down the order because of that. But that's going to allow people who have cleaner penalties do that as well. And this could be the run-in for the cleanest driver as well. Speaking of cleanest driver, Hayden's got no penalties, by the way. But we know the one who's going to get the cleanest driver this week, I believe, is GB, because he's got no warnings. But we don't know how it's decided in this game, because we've had someone that's had no warnings not get cleanest driver. Lessons to be learned there. But Alex Gillen has found a whole second on GB that past lap. So Alex Gillen is on a mission. He wants to win this race.
Back again, though, it's Scott Taylor versus Adam Sanderson. Once again, the battle, the almighty battle for the wooden spoon. Scott Taylor holding off the attack and getting past the Mercedes of Adam Sanson. But you can bet your bottom dollar this is going to rage on as Scott pulls out and lets the Mercedes file back through. And I think he's going to have a lovely dose of DRS and slipstream to try and make the move down into the first chicane. Some very nice racing, and now Adam Sanson potentially playing some games, moving over to the right-hand side of the circuit. Half a second is the gap. The DRS lap is wide open for Scott Taylor as one of our favourite Scotsmen looks to attack the back of the Mercedes. Down to the braking zone we go. He darts over. Is he close enough? No, he is not. Just lurking menacingly behind Adam Sanson, but does not make the move. And Sanson, for his troubles, getting a little bit wobbly, not once but twice coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, it's a dirty air that's kicking in. You do not want to be close, my friend, and that's not going to help Scott because you're going to have to brake so much earlier side by side again. Let's hope we don't get a repeat of what we saw the last lap. Luckily not. A lot much better racing because that could have ended in disaster. Side by side to turn 4. They're just having a bit of fun right now. And as Scott said, yeah, they're definitely having a bit of... They want to give us some entertainment, and that's what they're doing.
Well, it was clean as you like around the outside of the Della Roggia chicane, wasn't it? Beautiful stuff. Scott Taylor's now out of the session, and there is our safety car. Lap 49, not lap 49, lap 47. No, it is lap 49, sorry. We were on the guys that were lapped down. Alex Gillen is going to be absolutely seething with that one. He was 8.5 seconds, I think, clear of the group behind, but now he's going to have to actually fight for this Grand Prix. He's missed the pit lane, but as have the drivers behind him. The two Ferraris make their way in. Kareem 17 and Gwatz, along with Grid Jokes. Matt 2-on-2. Dak convinced this hasn't helped him. He just caught up to the pack that was falling behind Gwatz in 9th place. But yeah, that's really put an end to his assault of trying to get some really good track position back. Gillen will be afforded the opportunity to make his way down pit road, but he's going to have to work for this in the closing stages, and GB has been given a lifeline, as is Formula Kai, as Chappers picks up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. That is not good news.
That is not good news, which means you're going to have to serve it at some point. You can't serve it under safety car, but people are probably just wondering what they walked into, and Chappers have got another one again. So I won't be surprised if he gets disqualified, which will be very unfortunate, but the ones which is not going to help are the ones with penalties. Razin Chai, Kareem 17, Matt 2-on-2, that guy Vince, Gwatz, Grid Jokes, Tuki, Ricky, and now Chappers with a drive-through. Those drivers with the penalties, they're going to drop way down the order. But the ones with no penalties, they're going to be loving life right now, and they're going to try and close in. Hayden Gullis is probably going to gain a load of positions. Lucas as well. Scotty Designs, by the way, could get some points here if he keeps it clean. Formula Car, no! He's got a 10-second penalty. He was speeding in the pit lane. This could end his chances of winning this race because he's got that 10-second penalty.
I don't think that'll be served, and it will not be served. So Kai will have that 10-second penalty until the end of time in the Italian Grand Prix, and that is another perennial contender for the Italian Grand Prix thrown out of contention. And it's going to be an exclusive battle, you'd imagine. Alex Gillen versus GB. They're first and second on the road. They're first and second in the championship. And what a swing this could be. It'll be a 10-point swing. Let's not forget, 25 points for the win, 20 points for second place. If it ends as is, the battle, the championship battle with 3 rounds to go, will be 24 points the distance between Gillen and GB. But if it's the other way round, well, you can do the maths. It'll just be 14 points between Gillen, the Season 2 champion, and GB, the man trying to get his first crown.
This is... I don't know what to think. I don't know who's going to win this one. I think it's just going to be a sprint to the finish. But these guys have got to keep it clean because we know it's going to be every man for themselves, right? We know that ones that were in no man's land now have a second opportunity to try and go for a bite of the cherry. We could have Razin Chai, for all we know, pick up the win on track. Lonely no, but the home favourite, you never know. We could see people in the mid-pack trying to avoid not to make those mistakes. I don't know what I would do at this stage. Would I fight for it and go for it, or would you try and go for ambitious moves? You do not want to get damage after working so hard. You've got to think on your feet a little bit, but this is going to be exciting. Now everyone I believe is on the soft compounder tyres, and this is going to be every man for themselves now. Adam Sanderson, by the way, in a huge disadvantage. 7 laps on the softs, I believe. He's going to have a lot of work to do. His tyres are going to be absolutely cooked compared to everybody else.
He's got the fastest lap, though, so every cloud. Formula Kai make his way into the pit to serve that 10-second penalty. He will strap on a brand new set of the soft compound tyres, but that wipes him out of contention. Tukey with a 3-second penalty for corner cutting under the safety car. That is not ideal at all for the driver down in P15. But a penny for the thoughts of Alex Gillen. That's what I have to think. Because the trade-off, obviously we have this late race safety car. It's going to give us potentially some action in the closing stages, but Alex Gillen was absolutely faultless. Once he got into the lead and got the gap of over a second to the group behind, he was bulletproof. He was absolutely picture perfect, minus one tiny mistake midway through that, but he rectified it. He pulled the gap back over 7 seconds, and now he's got a job in his hands to try and fend off the attack from GB, who is going to be unworldly motivated to try and get this win.
Yeah, of course, he won it last time out in the Italian job, the double header, as it were, the 50% race, but he thought that this race was going to be over, but he was given a lifeline. He's been able to save the fuel that he needs. Hopefully, we can find out how much fuel he's on now, but I think he's got more than enough to get to the end of this Grand Prix. But he knows he's going to have Lolly Oba chasing him down. In fact, at Meraki, it's not just going to be Alex Gillen trying to hunt down for the win. There's going to be multiple people hunting down for this race victory this afternoon. And with Formula Car now serving his 10-second penalty, he could be back in the fray as well if everybody else makes a mistake. Ricky just picked himself a penalty. That's not going to be good news for him. But answer on the postcard, this is going to be the two-lap sprint to the finish. DRS enabled on the final lap. I don't know who's going to win this one. We're going to find out in 2 laps' time. Tom, over to you.
Place your bets, everybody. 2 laps for GB to try and attack the Papaya McLaren that sits in front of him and make a statement in his charge towards his first Creator Series crown here in Season X, also known as Season 10. Alex Gillen has led this race for the last 30 laps, but now has a job to do, and he's going to have to do the job very, very well. Formula Kai taken out of contention with a criminal penalty for speeding into the pit lane. It leaves Razin Chai holding third, but he won't take that with a 3-second penalty. That means the battle between Lolly Oba and the Ferraris will be just that little bit more intense than we might have thought. And unsurprisingly, Alex Gillen is going to take this as far as he possibly can up towards the start-finish line. And he bolts now, trying to catch people unawares. There's a bit of a wobble for one of the Ferraris coming out of the parabolic, but we are underway. And here's Alex Gillen leading GB. Half a second the gap between the leaders, but look at this, it's incredibly congested, like watching NASCAR as they charge down towards turn number 1. Razin under pressure, as is Lolly, who throws it around the outside of the Alpine. He wants to finish third on the road, but there's a little bit of rubbing between the wheels. The Alpine and the RB sinking their teeth into one another. Kareem gets ahead of Meraki. Dakar Vince puts one over on map 2-1-2. The gap's still half a second. We're 3 wide through Curva Grande. Is there enough space? There's a Mercedes of Gridjos trying to put his nose in a place that's not very welcome. It's that guy Vince out of nowhere. Look at this, 5 cars abreast, and it's Vince who's half spun, punted round going into the Della Roggia, falls way back through the field as the battle continues to rage on out in front. Look at this, it's like an NASCAR race or an IndyCar start.
Yeah, it is like qualifying in 2019, 2020, where they're all trying to race for a certain piece of track. It's absolutely incredible. And I mean, I don't know where to look at this point. We've seen 3 wide, we've seen 4 wide, we've seen 5 wide. And people are just going like it's an open lobby for some people, but for a lot of people, they want to try and defend this. Well, on the final lap of this race, GB68 is trying to be patient. It may not be enough for him, but you never know. It's not over till the lap 86. Formula Kai has made his way past Hayden Gullis up to 11th spot. GB set the fastest lap of the race so far. Hayden Gullis gets the move back again on Formula Kai, but that's not where we want to see. The battle we want to see is for the midfield and also for the win of this race. It's going to be 3 wide once again. As we can see, Gridjokes down the inside of Guatz into P8, but he's going to get bumped because of his penalty. And there's a bit of more front wing damage in the background with the likes of Lucas. I mean, Biggs has got more damage too, which is not ideal. He's going to lose out on a chunk of points, but Alex Gillen is just about holding on to the lead, which is what he wanted. He was probably feeling very nervous going into this point, but I wonder if we're having a similar situation to Spain. Can he hold it against GB that is chasing him down for this race victory?
Well, through the second Lesmo they go for the final time. DRS flaps open for the first time on the final lap of the Italian Grand Prix. Alex Gillen 3/10 of a second. GB is not close enough to think about a move into the Iscari chicane, and he will get a couple more opportunities. First down the back straight on the run into the Parabolica. It's a third of a second separating our leading duo as GB tucks into the slipstream, but he's just a little bit too far back as Alex Gillen played this to absolute perfection. He's won once, he's won twice, he's won thrice so far this season, and he has been formidable as Alex Gillen will return to the top step, and he wins the Italian Grand Prix. GB second. It's a drag race up to the line. Kareem passing in Fratic, but it doesn't matter because of the penalty. Lolin Ober with back-to-back podium finishes, and it's a scramble in the midfield. Kareem in 7th ahead of Hollywood, Hayden Gallis. Formula Kai with the penalty is in P9. Cutter Lucas rounds out our top 10. Gwatz with penalties. Grid Jokes and Dat Gubbins relegated down. But Alex Gillen, he had a job to do, and my word, did he execute it perfectly from that restart. GB, he just couldn't quite get close enough to the back of the Papaya McLaren car, and it means that for the 4th time, it is formidable Alex Gillen as he takes another step closer to a second Creator Series crown.
I think it's another race where he couldn't quite believe that he's actually won this race. He must be absolutely relieved. I think the word pressure is in his middle name because he absolutely delivered. The dirty air didn't bother him in the slightest because GB had the dirty air. He had the clear air. That helped him. He just focused. If he was nervous about the safety car, it didn't show on his stream. He was just very calm throughout, and that's what helped him get that race win today. But I think even without that safety car, he would have won anyway. He just looked formidable throughout. Alex Gillen's unfortunate tells from last time in Monza, it just didn't plague him today. It helped him get the race, but he was one of the drivers that didn't want Monza, but he delivered. And it just shown he's been able to adapt to anything. And Nolan Nova, his first podium at his home track, and he got the fastest lap as well. So extra points all round.
He did. Finishes ahead of the two Ferraris and Razin Chai, who'll see that as damage limitation after the safety car ended his chances of being inside the top 4. Cream 17 ahead of Hayden Gullis. Formula Kai and Cutter Lucas. Matt 2 just misses out on his first top 10 of the Creator Series. Dakar Vince was hobbled by that late race safety car. Grid Jokes and Gwatz hurt by time penalties. 2 Key Scotty Designs, Riccio 3 Adam Sanderson. And then the 2 Kick Saubers. But everybody, we were asking Alex Gillen versus GB. We're thinking about a gladiatorial tussle between the pair of them. And Alex Gillen, my word, did he do a good job.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to Tom and Jess. What cheerful commentary. Thank you so much to them. Immensely grateful for everything that they do. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's head to the man who's had the happiest of homecomings. It was a win last time out, Lolly. It's a podium this time. You've hit a bit of a purple patch.
In Italy, we say calma. GG everyone, guys. GG everyone. It was really a good race.
I was going to say, that was beautiful from yourself. P9 to P3, obviously the safety car helping out towards the end of that. But you seem to have great battles and pace before that as well, particularly fighting with the likes of Fabio in the Ferrari today.
Yeah, maybe my fuel was really excited today to race because I was with like minus 0.8, so it was really good for me, the safety car. But I just tried to catch the guys in front. I think I have the pace today, but in the first lap something happened and it was like not good.
That's certainly one way of putting it. Talk us through that first stint in particular, because a lot of drivers seem to struggle with the dirty air. I don't know about your experience, but I feel like once you made that first stop today, you seem to have a much easier time of cracking through the field bit by bit.
Yeah. I think in the first stint, I get destroyed by the Red Bull maybe, because he don't use the airs on the straight. So I lost the DRS in front, but we catch up with the safety. Let's go. Let's go.
When that wild card was announced, it was announced that we were going from Hungary to Italy, what was your honest reaction?
Good. Like the pole of Leclerc today, so maybe the reaction is the same.
Beautiful. I love it. And you know what as well? The results are flowing for you now. Of course, you got that win in Spa. You've got the podium here at your home track in Monza. Think you can carry this on?
Yeah, I just try to replicate a commentary, like, he win in Spa, he win in Monza, but nothing happened today. So, thank you, Gilon, thank you, GB, thank you, everyone, for this beautiful race.
Well, Lolly, listen, phenomenal showing from you today. As it was last week, you continued into this week. Who says you can't continue it? Congratulations, Lolly, P3 today.
Thank you so much.
Go and
Thank
enjoy
you.
it. You're welcome. Enjoy,
Thank
my
you.
friend.
Bye-bye.
Fantastic. Well, there we go. That's P3 on the road. We head to the man that was P2 for a long time, actually, particularly in the first stint. Had complete command of proceedings. GB, look at this. GB actually has a face cam. What an absolute legend. GB, congratulations on the P2. I sort of feel for you in a way, because I feel like had that safety car been just one lap less for you, could have been a whole different story today.
Yeah, I think it was a strange race. Obviously, we had the situation where Alex started on the wrong tyre, and then obviously because of the restart was able to fix that mistake and then be on the better tyre for the race. And then ultimately, what decided the position in the race was the I said to my chat I wanted to box as late as possible when we knew it was going to be a one-stop, and unfortunately, we just got tangled up in a fight with someone that started the same tyres from the start of the race, and yeah, that cost us like 2-3 seconds on Alex. And full credit to Alex after that, he was just able to kind of eke out that gap. Unfortunately, didn't have the pace with Kai to swap consistently with DRS. So yeah, my chat was telling me Kai was also low on fuel, and I also underfueled a bit, so let's do a bit of fuel management in there. But I mean, look, I'm happy with the race. Firstly, the wild cards. Epic, loved it. I think a lot of us were celebrating when it changed from Hungary, so big W there to Creative Series. But I really enjoyed the qualifying at Hungary. I thought the times were incredibly close, and then obviously Monza with the chaos at the end.
Oh, absolutely. I think the only person that probably wasn't happy was Hayden. He was the only vocal one about Hungary not being a thing.
I mean, look, it's Creator Series. There's always got to be a creator unhappy, right? That's the rule. That's the rule of the road.
Balanced, as all things should be.
Yes.
It's not too much of a loss in the championship, which is good news for you. It's another podium this season. I mean, despite the fact it's not the win today, those strong results keep on flowing for you, it seems.
Yeah, same every race, really. This has been the same for a while. Try and turn up and win every race, but championship for me is. I mean, look, I look forward to the look ahead at the constructors, because I'm really hoping in my absence in the upcoming weeks that Vince and whoever's my replacement can score big points, because I know it's very close in the constructors. But in terms of the drivers' championship, Alex is getting married next week, so obviously there's going to be a bunch of us attending his wedding and missing that race. But I'll also miss the finale, guaranteed now. So. Unfortunately for me, there won't be a championship push, which is gutting, because it's the gaps, as you said, the gaps are quite close. So yeah, unfortunate.
Well, quite. No, I understand that, but I think the final thing from me today is probably, well, I guess we'll look back as well to Hungary. We'll look back to qualifying in particular, because a lot of drivers, particularly in Q3, seem to struggle pushing the limits of it, whether that was track limits, whether that was bottoming out over curbs. So how did you navigate qualifying, as it were, to ensure the best position possible? And was that in the knowledge that probably Hungary was going to happen?
I think, to be honest, Hungary in Creator Series history has been my worst track by far. The last times we did it, I was off the pace of the leaders like by a decent chunk. And I said to my chat today that this is my worst track. I'm slow around here, and seeing those gaps and everything was really, that obviously gave me a lot of confidence, and because when was the last time we did Hungary? It was probably like this time last year. We never tend to drive it much for obvious reasons. So yeah, really difficult circuit. Flows really nicely. If you make one small correction in like sector 2, you lose that whole flow. So it's really difficult. It's a challenging circuit. But yeah, I was pretty pleased with myself today. I'm pretty pleased with the quali performance. Normally, I'm a lot quicker in the race than I am in quali, but yeah, not much more to say really, other than quali from a driver's perspective was quite exciting. It seemed like the gaps were really close, and that drivers were enjoying it. Hopefully, the viewers were too. And then, yeah, I love the mix-up. I was wondering whether Parc Ferme might stay on and we were all going to be doing Monza with like 50-50 wings. That would have been crazy. But no, fortunately not.
There may be a debate if it ever returns. You never know. But,
yeah,
listen.
I may have dug myself a hole now.
Listen, GB, huge congratulations. I know it's not the win today, but regardless, your race pace was absolutely rapid. Go and enjoy the podium, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Good job, sir.
Yeah, cheers, guys. See you then. Bye-bye.
In a bit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it turns out we've had radio silence so far from our winner, Mr. Alex Gillen. So back to us three, it goes then. And I guess we can we can sum up Alex's race today for the first stint as probably a race of endurance rather than excitement, but once he managed to get that undercut, I think that was the deciding factor today, Tom. When he pulled the pit lane trigger, ultimately charted the course for the rest of his race today.
100%. And there was also the help that he got from, I can't remember who it was that stayed out, that almost bulked everybody up a little bit. He was very efficient at getting past the driver that hadn't stayed out, and then the likes of GB and Formula Kai just got stuck behind a little bit longer. That gave him that 1.5 gap that he worked with very, very well. And then once he got in the lead, he never looked back. He had the pace over everybody else, and that was the crucial factor. If he'd have stayed in the DRS train with that pace advantage given in the race win, I'm not 100% sure, but once he got ahead, he was unstoppable.
For sure. And Jess, over to you now. This was crucial for Alex today, and I mean properly crucial. Of course, GB alluded to it. He's missing next week, so are a bunch of drivers. So for that gap to be bigger, if not stabilised a little bit, that has got to be paramount for the context of the rest of his season now.
You are muted, Jess.
Jessica, you're in the void.
I'm not. At least you're not the only one that's did it today. There you go. That's two for two. I think that Alex Gillen is definitely probably going to be absolutely the lead because he's going to be getting married and still be in the championship lead. But I think he's going to hope in the next few weeks that the guys that are going to be racing in the next few weeks do not close the gap. And if they do not close the gap, then Alex Gillen's going to be one happy man, I have to say. But Alex just looked like he was in control for the entirety of the race, really. The first dummy race, it looked like he was in control. Second race, he obviously Kai took the lead, but that didn't faze him. He was able to take the lead early on in the race, and he stayed there pretty much for the entirety. It was pretty much from that point. He took the lead, I think, lap 4 or lap 5, and he stayed there throughout the entirety, and it was well-deserved. And a track that he despises probably will turn to a track that he loves now, and it is very well-deserving for Alex because he looked like he was control throughout the entirety of the race, even with a safety car being thrown in.
Well, clearly, for a lot of the drivers that have won this season, we just need tracks that they absolutely hate. So there's a formula for you all. Just don't like the tracks you're driving, and you have a better chance of winning.
Yes.
Just saying, statistically it's proven. But what we need to decide, Tom and Jess, is who our driver of the day is for today. So Tom, throwing the gauntlet over to you first. Who was your driver of the day today?
Very easy for me. One of the easiest for the season, I think, has to go to Lolinoba. And qualified fairly well. I think he was inside the top 10, maybe P9 or P10, I can't quite remember. But the strategy, I think he pitted a little bit later than other people. And then the pace he showed to come through was outstanding. Yes, he was helped to that podium by penalties for the likes of Razin and for Formula Kai for the speeding under the safety car. But if you hand it on a plate, you've got to take that plate and eat it. And that's exactly what he did.
Couldn't agree more with you. Oh, Jess as well, agreeing. There we go. And it's 3
We're
for
all
3.
in tandem.
Lolinoba.
Yes, I think the reason why I'm agreeing, because I think you may not have seen on the broadcast, but the double overtake that Lolinoba did, he was just like being very brave. He just didn't let him sit behind. He was just like, nope, I'll go for the move. And he made loads of moves today. And he was able to pull through, and he took that safety car opportunity and he ran with it and he got a podium. So yeah, my driver of the day, easily Lolinoba. 2 podiums in 2 races. I don't think he would have predicted that this season, but I think Lolinoba, I think he celebrated more this week than he did last week, probably because it was his home race and he probably wasn't expecting to even have a home race this weekend. So yeah, well deserved for Lolinoba, but Alex Gillen a close second.
Like I said, 3 for 3. Lolinoba. His tenacity was brilliant. His pace was phenomenal. And it's a happy homecoming. So I think that's the end of that particular debate. Fantastic. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. A bit of a switcheroo in the circuit front, but I hope you all enjoyed regardless. Thank you so much to every single one of you for being here, whether that is on a YouTube, on a Twitch, on an internet somewhere. We appreciate you very, very much. If you enjoyed, do consider following our Twitch channel down below, subscribing to the YouTube, or following any other of our social medias listed above, creatorseries.gg, or why not go to our website, creatorseries.gg. Again, it's got all the information you could ever need as a fan of this wonderful league. Furthermore, also a big thank you to our partner, Sim Racing Setups. Use code !SRS and use the code. You know what to do. Go do it now. But more importantly, a huge, huge thank you to the two partners in crime alongside me today, Tom Wilkinson and Jessica Ball. What an honour and a privilege it's been, as it always is, to do this. Tom, to you first. Where can we find you on an interweb?
On an interweb or an internet, you can go to wilco.darts or wilco.coms on Instagram and or TikTok. Take your pick of your favourite social media platforms. Good fun today. Pleasure obviously working with both of you. Final words from me. Careful what you wish for, and I'll leave everyone to make up their mind on what I think of that statement.
Fair enough. We'll leave them to stew. Jessica Ball, where can we find you on the internet?
Very easy. I've got one handle, which is the same on everywhere. JessGames95, all one word, on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, X, Instagram, everywhere. So I'm not on Blue Sky at the moment because I don't use it. But yeah, I'm JessGames95 everywhere. And final thoughts of the race. Well, it was entertaining towards the last few laps, and Alex Gillen deserved the win. There you go. And Carl, where can we find you?
Oh, I'll tell you where you can't find me today, and that is on the outer reaches of Mars. You won't find me there. But where you will find... No, I've got to stick with it now, honestly. But you can find me... I have a pretty distinctive name. If you type that in, you'll probably find me there. Brilliant. Well, once again, a big thank you to you two alongside me for all of the commentary and cheer that you bring. It has been absolutely wonderful. Thanks to Gareth Allen as well, producer in the background. Smooth like butter. What an absolute legend. And once again, a huge thank you to every single one of you for watching today's round of the Creator Series powered by EA Sports. Where we're heading to next for round number X of Season X, all shrouded in an air of mystery. Until then, thanks for watching. Good night.